The appraiser had one hand inside the broken piano when he said, "You're Lena Mercer." Lena looked behind her, which was ridiculous. The only people in the parlor were her sisters, the appraiser, and the dead ficus Dana had been promising to throw away since Tuesday. Dana folded her arms. "I told you her name?" "No." The man withdrew his hand carefully from beneath the keys. Gray dust marked the side of his wrist. "You told me yours." He was somewhere in his 30s, lean and serious, with a canvas tool bag at his feet and a small white scar through one eyebrow. Nothing about him looked familiar. Lena would have remembered the scar, or the eyes that seemed to take inventory without being rude about it. Paige stopped peeling the corner of a moving label from Ruth's bookcase. "So, how do you know Lena?" The appraiser kept looking at her. "Your grandmother told me about you." For one strange second, Lena could hear the old refrigerator clicking on in the kitchen, the movers thumping upstairs, the crisp rip of Paige finally tearing the label free. Ruth had barely spoken to anyone near the end. She had refused telemarketers, neighbors, even the pastor who brought lemon cookies she couldn't eat. "What do you mean she told you about me?" The man glanced at the piano, as though the answer might be somewhere inside it. "She called my shop 4 times. 6 days earlier, Lena had been sitting at Ruth's kitchen table while Dana divided the family into people who understood paperwork and people who needed things explained slowly. There were 3 yellow legal pads in front of Dana, though she had written on only one. A calculator sat by her right hand. She had also brought color-coded tabs, 2 black pens, a blue pen, and the expression she used whenever a restaurant hostess claimed not to have her reservation. Paige sat across from her with a paper cup of coffee and Ruth's pearl earrings already in her purse. Lena had the chair nearest the stove. It was the chair she had used every morning for 3 years, because from there she could make oatmeal while keeping an eye on Ruth in the hallway. She still kept turning her head when the floor creaked. "The investment account doesn't pass through the will," Dana said. "It is named beneficiaries. I heard you the first time." "Then stop looking at me like I did it." Lena looked down at the photocopy between them. Ruth's signature was at the bottom, younger and firmer than Lena remembered it. The form had been completed 31 years ago. Dana Mercer. Paige Mercer. 2 names typed neatly on 2 lines. Lena had not existed yet. "How much?" she asked. Dana's jaw shifted before she answered. "After the market adjustment, about 58 each." Paige wrapped both hands around her coffee. "Before taxes." "Right?" Dana said quickly. "Before taxes, fees, whatever else comes out." Lena almost laughed. Whatever else sounded like a weather system. Unfortunate, uncontrollable, headed east. And Grandma never changed it. Obviously. "Dana?" Paige murmured. "What?" She didn't. Dana touched the paper with one clean fingernail. "The attorney said the beneficiary designation controls the account. The will doesn't override it." Lena had read the email. She had read it at 2 in the morning, then again at 4, as if another beneficiary might appear once her eyes were tired enough. Ruth's will divided the estate equally among all 3 granddaughters, but the house had been rented, not owned. The medical bills, funeral, and remaining debts would consume most of what sat in Ruth's checking account. The investment account was the only real money, and it would bypass the estate entirely. Dana leaned back. "I know this isn't what anybody expected." "No," Lena said. "I expect you'll both be devastated." Paige's mouth tightened. Dana simply capped her pen. They had all inherited Ruth's ability to turn cruel when frightened. Lena hated when she heard it in her own voice. Dana looked toward the sink, where one of Ruth's mugs still held 2 spoons and a tea bag dried to the porcelain. "I paid her property shortfall for almost 4 years. She didn't have property, her household shortfall. You know what I mean? The rent increases, the new furnace contribution, that dental work insurance wouldn't cover, and I lived here. You lived here rent-free." Lena felt the words land with such precision that she knew Dana had practiced them. Paige stared into her coffee. "Nobody's saying you didn't help. That's exactly what she's saying." "No, it isn't." Dana picked up the blue pen, decided against it, and put it down. "I'm saying we all helped in different ways." Lena pictured a Tuesday in February when Ruth had slid from the toilet and refused to let Lena call an ambulance because Dana had a presentation, and Paige was on a weekend away with a man she no longer spoke to. She pictured cutting Ruth's nightgown up the back because it was the only way to remove it without hurting her shoulder. Different ways apparently meant Dana could turn a roof contribution into equity while Lena's labor evaporated, because she had slept under the same roof. She pushed the photocopy back. "Keep it." Paige looked up. "Lena, what am I supposed to do? Wrestle you in the yard?" Dana's face softened, which made everything worse. "No one is keeping anything from you. This is how Ruth set it up. Before I was born. She had 31 years to change it. There it was. Not shouted, not even sharpened. A fact laid carefully between them, like a knife on a folded napkin. Lena got up and opened the refrigerator because movement was better than crying in front of Dana. Inside were half a jar of applesauce, mustard, a plastic container of soup someone from church had brought after the funeral, and 3 bottles of the nutritional drink Ruth had hated. She lifted one. Paige said, "You're not going to drink that, are you?" "I might." "Those taste like drywall." "You drank drywall?" "During my marriage, metaphorically." A laugh escaped Lena before she could stop it. Paige smiled, relieved, as though humor meant the problem had been handled. Dana uncapped her pen again. "We need to finish the household property. The landlord wants the house empty by next Friday." The dining set went to Dana because she had a room large enough for it. Paige took the pearl earrings and Ruth's gold chain, though she promised the chain could remain shared for special occasions. A phrase that made it sound like a timeshare. Dana claimed the cedar chest. Paige wanted the blue guest room quilt. Lena said yes to everything because refusing to fight could almost resemble generosity if she sat very still. Then Dana turned the page. "The piano is specifically left to Lena." All 3 of them looked through the doorway toward the parlor. The piano stood against the inside wall, tall and dark and swollen at one end, where rainwater had found its way through the ceiling 2 winters earlier. Ruth had covered it with a bath towel and 3 cooking pots during the leak. By the time anyone noticed water running behind it, the damage was done. Paige said, "Congratulations." "Shut up." "I mean it affectionately." The piano had belonged to Ruth for more than 60 years. In old photographs, it appeared behind birthday cakes, behind Christmas trees, behind Ruth in sleeveless dresses with her hands raised above the keys. Lena remembered sitting beside her on that bench, shoulder to shoulder, Ruth tapping the page whenever Lena rushed. Again. Slow is not the same as scared. Use your ears, honey. Your hands are showing off. The last time Lena had played it, 2 keys stuck and the sustain pedal squealed like a screen door. Ruth had been in her recliner with a blanket over her knees. Lena had stopped halfway through Moon River when her left hand fumbled the transition. Ruth had said, "You always quit 3 notes before you find out you can do it." Lena had snapped that Ruth always knew how to make music feel like punishment. They never returned to the conversation. "The movers estimated $640, Dana said. "That's just to remove it. More if there are stairs at the destination." "I don't have a destination. That's why Paige and I discussed another option." Paige studied the lid of her coffee. Dana slid a business card across the table. "Owen's Hauling and Cleanout," it said, though the number had been crossed out and replaced by 1 in red ink. "They can take it for $200 if they're already here doing the basement." "Take it where?" Dana's pause was brief. "Disposal." Lena looked again toward the parlor. From the kitchen, she could see only the piano's left shoulder and the framed photograph on top of it. Ruth, at 70, laughing so hard at something beyond the camera that her glasses had slipped down her nose. "Grandma left it to me." "I know. So, why did you call somebody to throw it away?" "Because you rent a room over a garage. It's an apartment. It's 1 room, and Mr. Alvarez has rules about large furniture." "You called him too?" I asked a practical question. Lena stared at her. "How did you even get his number?" "You put him down as an emergency contact at the hospital." Paige winced. "Dana, what?" "We have 9 days. I'm trying to keep this moving." Dana was always trying to keep things moving. Conversations, furniture, grief. If something could be turned into a task, she could survive it. Lena walked into the parlor. Dust had gathered along the piano's lid, except for 1 clean crescent where somebody had picked up the frame photograph and set it down again. She pressed middle C. The key sank without sound and remained there. Paige came to stand behind her. "It may not be as bad as it looks." "It's exactly as bad as it looks," Dana called from the kitchen. "You don't know that. I can see mold." "That's not mold," Lena said. Neither sister asked how she knew. She lifted the lid. Several key tops were yellowed. 1 had a hairline crack. A felt runner inside had come loose and drooped like a tired ribbon. The smell was dust, old wood, and the faint mineral damp that had lingered since the leak. On the music rack sat the same battered hymnal Ruth had used for years. A grocery receipt marked a page near the middle. Lena touched the receipt but did not pull it out. She could not afford the piano. She could not house it, repair it, or move it twice. Her checking account contained $412. Her next hotel paycheck was already assigned to rent, phone service, and the minimum payment on a credit card she had used for Ruth's prescriptions before Dana took over that bill. Dana appeared in the doorway with her legal pad against her chest. "We could have it evaluated first," she said. Her tone was gentler now, almost careful. "An actual piano appraiser. Then you'd know." "Know what?" "If it's worth saving." Lena pressed the dead middle C again. This time it rose halfway back on its own. Paige said, "That seems hopeful." "It's a key," Dana said. "I know what it is." Lena looked at the bench where Ruth used to sit, one foot planted firmly and the other moving with the pedal. She thought of $58,000 traveling cleanly into each sister's account. No movers, no mold, no question of where it could fit. Then she thought of Owen's hauling, carrying the piano out by the same front door the funeral home had used. "Get the appraisal," Lena said. Dana exhaled through her nose. "And if he says it's worthless?" Lena lowered the lid carefully over the keys. "Then at least somebody will have looked at it before you throw it away." Dana got the appointment for Saturday morning and sent a group text containing the address, time, appraiser's full name, company website, and cancellation policy. Paige responded with a thumbs up. Lena responded, "You know we all grew up in the same house, right?" Dana called immediately. "I'm making sure nobody misunderstands. The piano is already at the address. That's not the part people misunderstand." Lena was standing in the hotel's linen room with her shoulder pressed against a shelf of folded bath towels. On the other side of the door, someone was ringing the front desk bell with the patience of a woodpecker. "What happens after the appraisal?" she asked. "That depends what he says." "No. What happens to the piano?" A pause. Dana's car made its expensive muffled turn signal sound. "If it has value, we figure out the best way to preserve that value." "We? I meant you. You definitely didn't." The bell kept ringing. Dana sighed. "If it doesn't have value, Owens will be there Monday." "You scheduled them?" "They're clearing the basement anyway. I need to give them a scope of work." "It isn't work. It's my piano. Then find somewhere to put it." Lena ended the call without saying goodbye and opened the linen room door. The man at the desk had his palm raised to strike the bell again. He lowered it slowly. "Everything all right?" he asked. "Perfect. I need toothpaste. Even better." Mr. Alvarez confirmed that evening that the piano could not come to the apartment. He owned the detached garage behind his pale green bungalow, and Lena rented the converted room above it. He was 72, meticulous about gutters, and so uncomfortable with confrontation that he had brought a plate of sliced pound cake to tell her no. "It's not you," he said, which was rarely followed by anything useful. "It's the floor. The floor's solid. For normal things." "What do you think I own?" He looked around the room. A narrow bed, a thrift store dresser, a table with one chair, 2 crates of books, and a lamp Paige had called aggressively beige. "Normal things," he said. Lena ate a piece of cake standing at the counter. "What if I put it against the exterior wall? Then I would worry against the exterior wall." He had already called a contractor, which meant Dana had frightened him thoroughly. The contractor said the stairs were too tight, the landing was wrong, and the floor would need evaluation before anyone attempted the move. "I'm sorry," Mr. Alvarez said. "Your grandmother played?" "She did." "And you?" "I used to." He nodded as if there were a sensible distinction between those two facts. At the door he hesitated. "You can keep the pound cake. Is that because you feel guilty?" "My sister made it. It isn't very good. It was excellent." Lena resented him for being wrong about that too. She spent the next 2 nights searching for climate-controlled storage units, ground floor rooms, rehearsal spaces, and anyone willing to house an upright piano whose owner could not truthfully promise to remove it soon. A storage facility wanted a 3-month commitment plus insurance. A church secretary said they already had 2 pianos nobody played. A rehearsal studio rented by the hour and laughed when Lena asked about long-term placement. At Willow Glen, the senior residence where she covered 2 evening desk shifts most weeks, she walked past the unused activities room 3 times before opening the door. The room had once been a beauty salon. Plumbing hookups remained beneath a counter, and a faded photograph of a woman with a silver beehive hung beside the light switch. The room now held 6 stacked card tables, a rack of artificial wreaths, and an exercise bicycle with no right pedal. There was enough wall space for the piano. Absolutely not, Marisol Grant said when Lena floated the idea. It would be temporary, Lena said. That word has ruined many a storage room. It's not storage. It could be an amenity. It doesn't work. It could be a decorative amenity. Marisol stopped stapling. You want me to approve 600 pounds of decorative water damage? Not when you say it like that. Is there another way to say it? Lena looked through the office window at Mr. Ford arguing with the vending machine. It belonged to my grandmother. That is a reason you want it. It is not a reason the building wants it. Marisol's voice softened on the last sentence, but not enough to create an opening. Lena thanked her and went to free Mr. Ford's crackers. By Saturday, red moving labels had spread through Ruth's house like a rash. Dana had marked keep, donate, sell, or trash on nearly everything except the walls. Paige had reversed 2 decisions by moving labels from one object to another, which Dana considered sabotage. The appraiser arrived at 9 in a dark blue work shirt embroidered with Voss piano service above the pocket. He introduced himself as Adrian, wiped his shoes carefully on the mat, and spent 10 minutes examining the piano without offering even a discouraging hum. He photographed the swollen side panel and checked underneath with a flashlight. He removed the front board, pressed groups of keys, and lay on the floor to inspect the pedal assembly. Dana hovered close enough to be included in several photographs. "Could you step back?" he asked finally. "I'm trying to understand the process. It looks like standing behind me." Paige coughed into her fist. Dana retreated to the doorway. "I'm the executor." Adrian glanced up from the floor. "Congratulations." That was when he recognized Lena. Now, with dust still marking his wrist, he said Ruth had called his shop 4 times. "What did she say?" Lena asked. "That she wanted an estimate. The first call was mostly questions about water damage. The second was to correct the piano's serial number." "You have the serial number?" She read it wrong the first time. "That sounds like Grandma," Paige said. She once called the electric company back because she'd overstated her age. Dana looked at her. Why was she telling the electric company her age? She thought there was a senior discount. There is a senior discount. Then I guess it worked. Adrian opened his tool bag and removed a slim tablet in a rubber case. He found the service request and held it so Lena could see. Ruth Mercer. The house address. An old landline number Lena had disconnected after the funeral. Below that, in a box labeled Primary Player, Ruth had typed Lena's name. "She filled this out?" Lena asked. "Someone filled out the online form for her." "I did," Paige said slowly. "She asked me to type something one night. I didn't read it." Dana made a sound that did not quite become a word. "What?" Paige said. She dictated it. "I thought it was a complaint." Adrian scrolled. Several photographs appeared, all slightly crooked. The piano's damaged side, the keys, the maker's name above the keyboard. One photograph showed Ruth's slipper at the bottom. "She wanted it repaired?" Lena asked. She wanted to know what repair would cost. Those aren't always the same thing. He tapped another section. Ruth's description was brief. Water at left side 2 winters ago. Several dead keys. One granddaughter who knows what it is supposed to sound like. Lena read the sentence twice. "She paid you?" Dana asked. Adrian looked at her. "An inspection deposit. How much?" $300. "For this visit?" "For the first visit?" Which should have happened while she was alive. The answer changed something in his face. Not enough to make him expressive, but enough for Lena to see the statement cost him. "Why didn't it?" she asked. He locked the tablet screen. "My father got sick. I took over his clients and got behind. Your grandmother rescheduled once because she wasn't feeling well. I rescheduled twice because I was overloaded." He glanced toward the piano. Then she stopped returning messages. "She was in the hospital," Lena said. "I know that now." Dana's arms loosened across her chest. Even she had no administrative solution for a dead woman and a missed appointment. Adrian crouched beside the piano again. "The deposit applies today. There's no additional inspection charge." "And what's it worth?" Dana asked. Lena turned. "Can you wait? That is why he's here. It's been 12 seconds since he told us he feels responsible." "I didn't say I feel responsible," Adrian said. Paige looked at him. "You did, though. He considered this, then nodded once. Fair. He replaced the front board and sat on the bench. It creaked under him. His hands were too large for the delicate way he pressed each key, listening not for music, but for small internal failures. 3 notes sounded. The 4th produced only a wooden knock. 2 more spoke weakly, followed by a sour chord that hung in the room. Adrian pressed the pedals, leaned down to listen, then stood. The good news is the plate appears sound. The case damage is mostly on the outer left side. I don't see evidence that water reached the pin block, but I'd need to test it properly. The action needs extensive work. Hammers, dampers, felts, regulation. Some strings may need replacement. The soundboard has cracks, though not every crack is fatal. And the bad news? Paige asked. That was also the bad news. Dana stepped closer. Resale value, as it sits? Essentially none. So, Owens was cheaper. Dana, Lena said. Adrian did not look offended. If your goal is to turn it into cash, hauling is the economical choice. And restored? It depends on how far you go. Cosmetic restoration, structural work, full action rebuild, those are different jobs. But even in excellent condition, this kind of upright is not rare enough to justify the expense as an investment. Dana's shoulders settled. She had wanted certainty, and now she had it. How much to make it playable? Lena asked. Adrian studied the piano rather than her. Playable is a dangerous word. Why? People use it when they mean cheap. I mean able to play. 6,000 to 9,000, depending on what we find after disassembly. More if the tuning structure is compromised, Paige whispered. Oh, Lena's checking balance appeared in her mind with humiliating clarity. $412 minus the groceries she had bought Thursday. Dana touched Lena's arm. Now you know? Lena moved away from her hand. Adrian packed his flashlight and tablet. I can write the formal condition report by Monday. Send it to me, Dana said. The piano belongs to Lena. I'm handling the estate. He can send it to both of us, Lena said. Dana's lips flattened. Fine. Paige drifted toward the front window. Outside, an Owens hauling truck had pulled into the driveway to begin estimating the basement clearance. 2 men in gray shirts climbed out, one carrying a clipboard. Lena watched Dana check the time. They aren't taking the piano today, she said. No, Dana replied. They're coming back Monday. Adrian paused with his tool bag in hand. Lena faced him. If money didn't matter, would you repair it? He looked at the warped panel, the silent keys, the water stain that had darkened one leg. If money didn't matter, he said, a lot more pianos would still be alive. That isn't an answer. No. His gaze returned to hers. I would stabilize it first. Then I'd find out whether it still wants to be an instrument. Behind them, Dana gave a tired laugh. It doesn't want anything. Adrian lifted his bag. Neither does money, he said. People save that all the time. Dana waited until Adrian's truck had pulled away before saying, I don't appreciate being scolded by a man I hired. You didn't hire him, Paige said. Grandma did. He wouldn't be here if I hadn't scheduled him. He wouldn't be late if he'd come when Grandma scheduled him. Whose side are you on? Paige blinked. I didn't know there were sides to a piano. There are always sides with her, Dana said, and looked directly at Lena. One of the men from Owens Hauling knocked on the open front door. He was broad through the middle, with a gray mustache and a clipboard tucked under his arm. He glanced at the labels on the furniture. Somebody having a yard sale? Estate clearance? Dana said. Basement, garage, and anything marked trash. He nodded toward the piano. That one going? No, Lena said. Possibly Monday, Dana said at the same time. The man raised his clipboard between them. I'll put a question mark. Put nothing, Lena told him. He needs a complete list. He can erase. The man looked at Paige. I'm Switzerland, Paige said. You're wearing Grandma's pearls, Lena said. Paige touched one earlobe. Switzerland has jewelry. Dana led the man toward the basement while explaining in punishing detail which shelving units belonged to the landlord. Paige remained by the window, rolling one pearl between her thumb and forefinger. You know I'll let you wear these, she said. I don't want to wear them. Then I chose well. Lena laughed despite herself, but Paige's smile did not last. You have somewhere to take the piano? No. You told Dana you did. I said I'd handle it. That's Lena for no. That's Dana for none of your business. Paige walked to the piano and pressed one of the working keys. The note came out flat and startled, as if awakened from a bad nap. I could give you the 200 she offered, Paige said. instead of using it to throw this away. You just got $58,000 before taxes. Don't. I'm sorry. Paige said it quietly enough that Lena had to look at her. The apology seemed to cover the joke, the money, and possibly several years neither of them had the courage to itemize. You could give me half, Lena said. Paige's hand dropped from the key. There was the truth of her, immediate and unadorned. Paige could feel guilty. She could admit unfairness. She could even surprise Dana occasionally. But $58,000 had already become a door in her mind, and she was terrified someone might close it before she escaped through. I can't do that, she said. Lena nodded. Then don't offer me $200 like it makes us generous. She took the business card Adrian had left on the piano and went outside. The side yard smelled of cut grass and hot metal. Lena sat on Ruth's back steps, where the paint had peeled into curled white strips, and called Willow Glen. Marisol answered on the fifth ring. If this is about the piano, the building has not changed shape since Thursday. What if I run a weekly music program? Silence. You said the room needed a use, Lena continued. The activities room. I said it needed clearing. Same neighborhood. It is not. I'll clear it. I'll move the tables, the wreaths, the exercise bike. The exercise bike belongs to Mr. Ford. It has one pedal. He says the imbalance strengthens his core. Lena closed her eyes. In the driveway, Dana pointed toward the garage, while the man with the clipboard made notes. What would make you say yes? Marisol exhaled. Lena could picture her taking off the burgundy glasses and letting them hang from their chain. A working instrument, she said. Evidence of insured professional movers. Approval from facilities. A written plan for who assumes responsibility if the flooring is damaged. A realistic date for removal if this restoration turns into a memorial to your intentions. I can do that. And a music program. Weekly? Twice a month. You said weekly. I'm negotiating against myself because you sound desperate. I am desperate. Never say that while negotiating. Lena looked up at Ruth's bedroom window. The curtains were gone. Without them, the glass looked blind. How long would I have? 30 days to make it safe and capable of producing something a reasonable person might call music. After that, we decide whether it stays. 30 days isn't enough. It was no days 10 minutes ago. Lena pressed her knuckles to her forehead. Can I see the room again? You may see the same room as many times as you like. I mean, with whoever approves the floor. That would be Calvin, and he'll be here Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Do not bring the piano. Marisol hung up. When Lena returned to the parlor, Paige was sitting on the piano bench. Dana had joined her, legal pad open across one knee. I found a place, Lena said. Dana looked up. Where? Willow Glen. The residence? They have an unused activities room. Do they know you plan to put it there? They're meeting with me Monday. So, you found a possible place. I found more than you did. I found removal for $200. Why are you so eager to destroy it? Dana closed the legal pad. I am eager to finish one thing, she said. One. The death certificates took a week. The funeral home misspelled Ruth's middle name. The pharmacy sent another refill yesterday. Her landlord wants keys, the hospital wants signatures, and you still haven't told me which utility accounts you closed. I lived here while she was dying. Sorry if my project management slipped. I know you lived here. Do you? Dana stood. For a moment she looked less like the family administrator and more like the woman who had cried in Ruth's laundry room at midnight after the hospice nurse left. She had wiped her face before coming back to the bed and said the detergent fumes bothered her eyes. I know exactly where everybody was, Dana said. I know Paige was in Charlotte when Ruth fell in December. I know you didn't call me until after the ambulance came. I know Grandma told you not to call because she didn't want me to worry, and I know you listened to her. Lena had no answer ready. Dana continued. You think being here made every decision yours. It didn't. No, apparently a form from 31 years ago did that. Paige rose from the bench. Could we go 1 hour without saying the amount or the form? Sure, Lena said. You already have both. Paige flinched. Dana tucked the legal pad against her side. The piano can stay through Wednesday. If your arrangement falls through, Owens takes it Thursday. The house must be empty Friday morning. I didn't agree to that. You don't have to. The lease ends. She walked toward the kitchen, then stopped. And hire actual piano movers. Owens can carry it out, but they won't be responsible for damage. You asked them to dispose of it. Yes. Disposal has a more forgiving damage policy. That evening, Adrian emailed the report to all three sisters. It was 9 pages long and contained more photographs than Lena had known he took. The language was clinical. Moisture-related case distortion, non-functioning action centers, degraded damper felt, severe pitch instability. At the bottom, under fair market value as EIS, he had written minimal to negligible. Cost of transport likely exceeds immediate resale value. Dana replied, "Thank you for your thoroughness." Paige replied, "Well, it still has character." Lena called him. He answered over a noise like metal being dragged across concrete. "Voss piano. It's Lena Mercer. I know. Do you memorize every number that calls you? Your grandmother put this one on the service request." Lena looked at the phone. "This is my cell." She listed it as the alternate. Ruth had complained every time Lena changed a password, but apparently kept her number available for strange piano technicians. "I found somewhere to keep it," Lena said. "Maybe. I need a mover. I sent 3 names with the report. The first one wants $780. The second can't do it before Friday. The third has a disconnected number. The third retired then. Very useful. What do you want me to say?" "That there's a fourth." "There isn't a fourth I'd trust." She sat at the edge of her bed. Mr. Alvarez had left the rest of the pound cake wrapped in foil outside her door. "What does stabilization mean?" she asked. "It means stopping active damage and determining whether the instrument can hold tuning before anyone commits to rebuilding the action." "And what does that cost?" "Usually $1,200 to $1,800, not including transport." "You said Grandma's deposit applies." $300 applies. So $900 to $1,500. That is how subtraction works. Do you practice being unpleasant, or is it natural?" "I took classes." Lena heard something close to amusement, followed by a hollow knocking sound. "What's that noise?" she asked. "I'm closing the shop. It sounds like you're taking it apart." A caster broke on a workbench. He sounded tired now. Not romantically tired or nobly burdened. Irritated, sweaty, end of a bad day tired. She understood that kind. "If I can get it moved," she said. "Can you inspect it at Willow Glen?" "I already inspected it." "You said it needed testing. That is paid work, I know." "Do you?" She went quiet. Adrian sighed. "Send me photographs of the room first. The entrance, hallway turns, thresholds, and the intended wall. Include the floor. You can tell if a floor holds a piano from a photograph?" "No. I can tell when it definitely won't." Monday morning, Calvin from facilities stared at the old beauty salon while Marisol summarized Lena's proposal. He was a compact man with a silver goatee and a set of keys large enough for a prison movie. "Floor's concrete," he said. Lena waited. "That's good?" she prompted. "It isn't bad?" He inspected the exterior service entrance, measured the door, and rolled one of the stacked card tables aside with his foot. "You'd want it here," he said, pointing to the wall opposite the old shampoo hookups. "Not by plumbing, not against the heating unit. Put something under the casters. I can do that. You have insurance? The movers will, not what I asked?" Marisol raised one hand. "We can list it as donated program equipment for the trial period, but Lena signs responsibility for removal if the arrangement ends." Calvin looked at Lena. "This thing worth anything?" "No." "Good." She frowned. "Why is that good?" "People get strange when they think furniture is treasure." He left to repair a disposal in apartment 214. Marisol handed Lena a 1-page agreement. At the bottom, beneath the removal clause, she had added 2 music gatherings per month, beginning immediately. Temporary keyboard available until piano functional. "Immediately," Lena said. "You wanted the room to have a use. I meant after the piano worked. You described yourself as a musician. I said I studied music. You also said never to negotiate from desperation. Yet, here we are. That was you. Then I give excellent advice." Lena signed. The cheapest approved movers had an opening Wednesday at 3. Their fee was $640, exactly what Dana had quoted. Lena paid half from her checking account and put the remainder on the credit card she had sworn not to use again. Wednesday morning, Paige arrived at Ruth's house carrying bagels and wearing clothes too nice for dust. Without discussing the money, she helped Lena empty the piano bench. There was no letter, no jewelry, no object that changed their fortunes. Only yellowed sheet music, 2 hymnals, a metronome with a missing cover, and a pencil worn nearly to the eraser. Ruth had written on everything. Slow down. Again. Breathe here. Listen to the left hand. Paige held up the pencil. She could have purchased another. She liked things that already knew her hand. Paige placed it carefully inside the box. When the movers tilted the piano onto a padded board, the empty parlor seemed to recoil. Dust outlined the place it had occupied for decades. Behind it, the wallpaper was darker and unworn. Dana arrived as they strapped it down. "You actually did it," she said. Lena could not tell whether she sounded impressed or appalled. The piano rolled toward the front door. One of its dead keys dropped under the vibration, making a single dull knock from inside the case. Lena followed it out. "No," she said. "I'm doing it now." Doing it required the piano to be lifted onto its side, turned through the front doorway with less than an inch to spare, and lowered down 3 porch steps while one mover called the other professor, in a tone suggesting a long and difficult marriage. Lena stood in the yard, holding her breath. "You can breathe," Paige said. "I am breathing. You're making a color I don't trust." Dana remained on the porch with Ruth's framed photograph tucked against her ribs. She had arrived with no intention of staying for the move, then started telling the movers which porch board creaked and never left. The larger mover leaned his shoulder into the padded piano. "Easy, Professor." "I got it," Professor said. "You said that in Belmont." Belmont had ice. It was June. The piano reached the sidewalk without splitting open, crushing anyone or dragging the porch with it. Lena exhaled. Dana came down the steps and handed her Ruth's photograph. "This was still on top," she said. "I know. You were going to leave it. I was going back for it. You were following the truck. I was going to come back." Dana looked at the empty doorway, where the parlor's pale rectangle was visible beyond the hall. She ran one thumb along the edge of the frame before letting go. "Of course," she said. At Willow Glen, Calvin had placed 4 rubber caster cups on the floor and marked their intended positions with blue painter's tape. He supervised from the service entrance while Marisol redirected residents who had discovered that something large was happening. Mr. Ford appeared 3 times. "Is it a jukebox?" he asked on his first visit. "It's a piano," Lena said. "Does it take quarters?" "No." Then a jukebox would have been better. On his second visit, he offered the movers advice. On his third, Marisol handed him a stack of mail and told him the federal government needed his help distributing it. The piano fit through the service door. It fit down the wide corridor. It did not fit easily through the activities room doorway because the brass handle projected farther than Adrian had estimated from Lena's photographs. Professor removed the door from its hinges. "Standard procedure," he said. His partner snorted. Belmont. There was ice. It was June. When they finally set the piano onto the caster cups, it looked both enormous and diminished. In Ruth's parlor, it had belonged to the wallpaper and afternoon light. Under Willow Glen's fluorescent fixtures, the water damage showed brutally. The walnut finish had gone cloudy near the floor, and the swollen panel bowed away from the case like a split seam. Dana stood in the doorway. "It looks worse here." "Thank you," Lena said. "I mean, the lighting is harsh." "Better?" Paige arranged the boxed music on the counter beneath the old plumbing hookups. She had taken off Ruth's pearls before coming and replaced them with plain silver hoops. Lena noticed and pretended not to. Marisol entered carrying a clipboard. "Mover's insurance?" Lena produced the certificate. "Removal agreement?" "You watched me sign it. I enjoy paperwork twice." Calvin inspected the hallway, the door frame, and the floor. He crouched to confirm that each caster sat inside its cup. "No cracks," he said. "In the floor or the piano?" Paige asked. "Floor's my department." He left. Marisol checked her clipboard. "Friday at 4. "What's Friday at 4? Dana asked. "Our first music gathering." Lena turned. "You scheduled it already?" "You agreed to begin immediately. The piano doesn't work. The keyboard does." An electronic keyboard stood folded against the far wall behind the card tables. Lena had seen it before but never examined it closely. One speaker was secured with silver tape, and several letter names had been written directly on the keys in permanent marker. Marisol followed her gaze. It was donated by someone angry, by someone hopeful. Dana's eyebrows lifted. "You're performing?" "It isn't a performance." 11 people have signed up, Marisol said. Lena stared at her. 4 of them believe it's a lecture, Marisol added. You may lose those. On the way out, Dana paused beside the piano. She did not touch it. Good luck Friday, she said. Are you coming? No. The answer was too quick. Paige looked between them. I might. Dana picked up her purse. You have a dentist appointment. How do you know? You put it on the shared calendar. We have a shared calendar. You accepted the invitation. I accept things to make them disappear. The sisters left together, arguing about whether a digital invitation constituted informed consent. Once they were gone, the room became very quiet. Lena placed Ruth's photograph on the counter rather than the piano. She was afraid the warped top might tilt it forward. In the picture, Ruth laughed at whoever stood behind the camera, glasses low on her nose, one hand raised as though batting away a joke. The piano's dead middle C had fallen again during the move. Lena lifted it with one fingertip. It dropped. Adrian arrived the next afternoon, carrying 2 tool cases and a paper sack that smelled of onions. He had changed into a clean work shirt, but had missed a streak of black grease near his collar. You ate in the truck, Lena said. He looked at the sack in his hand. Impressive. You have mustard on your sleeve. He examined the wrong sleeve first. Less impressive. She showed him the move receipt, insurance certificate, and Marisol's temporary equipment agreement before he could ask. You've become bureaucratic, he said. Grief has changed me. He set down the sack and walked around the piano. His inspection of the movie took longer than Calvin's. He checked the back posts, opened the top, and shone a light inside. It survived, Lena said. The move, any of it, that's what we're finding out. Adrian removed the front board again. He took off his watch and placed it inside his tool case, then began loosening parts with the same quiet concentration he had shown at Ruth's house. Lena moved a card table closer and sat. He glanced at her. This isn't exciting. I'll manage. It can take hours. I brought crackers. That changes everything. She watched him test tuning pins, measure, listen, and write numbers on a printed diagram. He explained only when she asked specific questions. The pin block was not visibly separated. The bridges showed wear but no catastrophic failure. The soundboard cracks would affect tone, though the piano might remain serviceable without immediate replacement. Might, he repeated whenever Lena turned a possibility into a promise. After nearly an hour, he pressed a key that had not sounded the day before. The note came out low and badly out of tune, but it came. Lena sat forward. Adrian pressed it again, then another. He listened to the wobbling beats between them. Can it hold? She asked. Maybe. You said you were testing that. I'm testing whether it's worth testing further. You have too many stages. Pianos have too many parts. He leaned beneath the keybed and aimed his flashlight upward. Something caught his attention. He shifted closer, tracing a small mark on the underside of the action rail. What? Service stamp? Whose? He moved aside so she could see. Ink had faded into the wood, but the letters remained legible. Voss Son, followed by a phone number with only 7 digits and a handwritten date from 1994. Your shop? Lena asked. My father's. You worked on this piano? I was 9, so you were the son. I was the reason he never changed the name after my grandfather retired. Adrian ran his thumb just beneath the stamp without touching it. There was no dramatic recognition, only a private adjustment in the way he looked at the instrument. Do you remember it? Lena asked. No. He serviced hundreds of uprights. Grandma might have known your father. Most people who hired him knew him for 45 minutes twice a year. The answer was practical, but Adrian photographed the stamp before moving on. He found 2 more dates beneath the first, then evidence of repairs made by other hands, a mismatched set of hammer shanks, a carefully spliced pedal strap, several bass strings replaced at different times instead of as a full set. This thing has been patched forever, Lena said. Maintained. It looks improvised. Most maintenance is. Ruth would have liked that distinction. Lena could hear her saying it with satisfaction, as if Adrian had defended her personally. He worked until the onion smell from his untouched lunch became part of the room. At last, he replaced the loose panels and washed his hands in the former salon sink, which produced brown water for several seconds before clearing. Well? Lena asked. Adrian dried his hands on a blue shop towel. The tuning structure is weaker than I'd like, but not hopeless. Stabilization is reasonable if your goal is use, not restoration to showroom condition. My goal is Friday at 4. He looked at the taped keyboard. That's your goal, Friday at 4. How much? He gave her a written estimate. The lowest number was $1,370, with Ruth's deposit credited at the bottom. It covered cleaning, moisture stabilization, replacing the worst failed action parts, a cautious pitch correction, and a follow-up tuning if the first one held. Lena read the total twice. I don't have this, I assumed. You could pretend to be surprised. I'm bad at that. What if I help? With what? The work. You're not trained. I can clean. I can organize. I can hold things. So can clamps. Do your clamps answer the phone? No. That's their best feature. She handed the estimate back. You said you got behind when you took over your father's clients. His expression changed slightly. You also said a caster broke on your workbench. Your shop sounded like a refrigerator falling downstairs. That is not a credential. I've worked hotel housekeeping, front desk, breakfast service, and night reception here. I can clean, schedule, make coffee, and remain polite while someone explains a problem they caused. Again, not piano work. I didn't say it was. I asked if there was work. Adrian folded the estimate along its existing crease. You're trying to trade unskilled labor at retail repair rates. I'm trying not to throw away the thing my grandmother paid you to look at. The sentence landed harder than Lena intended. He placed the estimate on the piano. Saturday, he said. 4 hours. I'll pay $20 an hour as credit, and you'll do what I assign. No touching tools or customer instruments without permission. That's $80. Your arithmetic continues to improve. At that rate, I'll be done when I'm 40. You asked for work, not magic. Friday at 4, 12 people came. 4 expected a lecture. 1 left upon seeing the keyboard. Mr. Ford arrived with a tambourine he claimed had belonged to Sammy Davis Jr., though Marisol whispered that it came from a craft store in Raleigh. Lena sat behind the keyboard with her hands in her lap. A woman named Evelyn Price, who had introduced herself as a retired choir director before criticizing the chair arrangement, said, "Are we waiting for someone?" "No," Lena said. Evelyn looked pointedly at the keys. Lena placed her fingers over them. The plastic felt too light. Every sound in the room seemed suddenly sharper. A cough, a chair leg scraping, Mr. Ford testing the tambourine with his palm. "What do you know?" Lena asked. "Songs," Evelyn said. "That's why we came." A few people laughed. Lena began with Blue Moon. Her left hand was stiff, her tempo too quick. Evelyn sang in a husky alto, without being invited, and 3 others joined her at different speeds. Mr. Ford's tambourine entered wherever it pleased. Halfway through, Lena missed a chord. Her hands stopped. The room did not. Evelyn held the melody. Mr. Ford shook through the empty space. Someone near the door kept singing the wrong words with tremendous confidence. Evelyn nodded at Lena. "You planning to join us again?" Lena found the chord. This time, when she made another mistake, she kept going. By the end of the song, the group had separated into 3 competing versions of the final line. Evelyn held her note until everyone else surrendered. Mr. Ford shook the tambourine once after the music stopped. "That was late," Evelyn told him. "It was commentary." Lena lifted her hands from the keyboard. Her palms were damp. A man in a cardigan raised 2 fingers, as if requesting permission to speak. "Do you take requests?" "Within reason." "Piano man." "Without irony, preferably." Someone asked for Unchained Melody. Someone else requested a hymn, then objected when Evelyn chose the key. Mr. Ford wanted Mac the Knife, which Evelyn said explained a great deal about him. The requests came faster than Lena could play them. She knew pieces of most, entire versions of almost none. The keyboard's programmed drum beat activated when her wrist hit the wrong button, adding a cheerful bossa nova rhythm beneath amazing grace. Evelyn stopped singing. "Bold," she said. "I'm experimenting." "Don't." Lena found the button and killed the rhythm. The room laughed with her instead of at her. That distinction should not have mattered as much as it did. The last request came from a quiet woman seated near the counter, beneath Ruth's photograph. "Do you know Moon River?" Lena's fingers remained on the keys. The woman smiled apologetically. "My husband used to whistle it in the car. I know it." She played the opening measures softly. The plastic keyboard made them bright and bloodless, but her hands remembered the shape. Then came the transition where she had stopped at Ruth's house. Lena saw the old blanket over Ruth's knees. She heard her own sharp voice saying music felt like punishment. Her left hand hesitated. Evelyn began singing before the silence could harden. Her voice was rougher on this song, less certain. Lena followed her through the transition, simplifying the chord rather than abandoning it. It was not elegant. It was enough. Afterward, the quiet woman touched 2 fingers to her mouth, then gave Lena a small nod. Marisol appeared at the door exactly when the hour ended. "I count 10 who stayed," she said. "You counted? I manage occupancy. 1 left because it wasn't a lecture. He'll complain that we failed to educate him. That's participation." Evelyn waited until the others had gone before approaching the broken upright. She pressed middle C and frowned when it dropped silently. "When will this one be ready?" "Not soon." "You said 30 days, Marisol reminded her. "I said 30 days to make it safe and capable of something a reasonable person might call music." Evelyn pressed another key. A harsh note answered. "I'm reasonable," she said. "That's music? You just criticized my rhythm for an hour. That was also reasonable." Mr. Ford retrieved his tambourine from a chair. "I'll be here next time." "Bring quieter commentary," Evelyn told him. Saturday morning, Lena arrived at Voss piano service 8 minutes early and thought the business had closed. The front windows were papered from the inside, with brown packing sheets. The painted gold lettering on the glass had peeled away from the final E in service. Through the door, she could see the shadowed shapes of 3 grand pianos and no people. She knocked. Something fell in the back. A minute later, Adrian unlocked the door wearing a gray t-shirt, work pants, and an expression suggesting he had forgotten their agreement. "You said 9. It's 8:52. I know what time it is." "Then why are you surprised?" "I'm surprised you came." Lena stepped past him. "That feels insulting." It was meant as optimism. The shop smelled of wood, glue, machine oil, and coffee left too long on a burner. Pianos occupied nearly every open area. 1 grand sat with its legs removed on a padded rack. 2 uprights faced each other like relatives refusing to speak. Parts rested on labeled trays, except where the labels had fallen off and gathered near the baseboards. The workbench with the broken caster stood at an angle, one end supported by a stack of thick trade catalogs. Lena pointed. "That's your solution? It's temporary? Storage room temporary or landlord temporary?" He gave her a blank look. Never mind. The front office was worse. Work orders covered the desk beneath unopened mail, takeout menus, invoices, and a mug full of piano keys. A wall calendar remained open to February despite it being late April. Adrian handed Lena a broom. "You're kidding. You offered to clean." "I thought you needed skilled administrative help." "I need the floor. That floor hasn't seen daylight since the first Bush administration. My father preferred layers." "Your father made this mess?" "Most of it. Convenient." Adrian looked toward the back of the shop. "He died in November." The broom became awkward in Lena's hand. "I'm sorry, so am I. Floor still needs sweeping." He disappeared through the workshop door before she could decide whether he was avoiding sympathy or simply better at leaving than receiving it. Lena began near the windows. The brown paper turned out to be protection from sunlight rather than evidence of closure, though several sheets had torn loose. She reattached them, swept around piano legs, collected 3 dead pens, 11 loose screws, and a petrified cough drop. Every object required a question. "Trash?" she called, holding up a cracked plastic wheel. "No." "A menu from a restaurant that closed, maybe a newspaper from 6 years ago?" "Obituary." She unfolded it. The circled obituary belonged to someone named Harold Kemp, 84, church organist and amateur woodworker. Who was he? Customer? Do you need the whole sports section attached to him? A pause. No. She cut out the obituary and placed it on the office desk. When Adrian came forward carrying a wooden action frame, he stopped beside it. "Better?" "The Yankees lost that day. I'm sure history will recover." He almost smiled. By noon, Lena had filled 2 trash bags, uncovered most of the desk, and developed a system for papers Adrian was forbidden to disrupt without asking her. Current work orders sat in 1 tray, completed jobs in another, unpaid invoices in a third. "You have 7 unpaid invoices," she said. "I know, 3 are over 90 days old. I know. Then why are they under a menu? I didn't know that." "You're terrible at business. I repair pianos." "This is a business that repairs pianos. That was my father's theory." "And yours?" Adrian set down the action frame. It was the internal mechanism from one of the uprights, an intricate row of hammers and levers that looked both delicate and anatomical. "My theory is that people don't pay faster because the invoice sits in a nicer tray." No, but they might pay if you rescind it. He wiped his hands on a cloth. You have 10 minutes left. You're dismissing me because I'm right. I'm stopping you before your labor becomes more valuable than I agreed to credit. She checked the clock. 4 hours had passed. Her shoulders ached, and there was dust inside her shoes. Adrian took Ruth's estimate from a folder on the desk. Beneath the credited deposit, he wrote labor credit, $80, and subtracted it from the total. The new number remained impossible. Same time next Saturday? Lena asked. I haven't said there will be a next Saturday. Your floor says there will. My floor doesn't manage staffing. Neither do you, apparently. He looked around the cleared front office. The change was undeniable and seemed to make him uneasy. Saturday, he said. If you answer phones too, I'll make it 22. 25. You're untrained. At sweeping, at piano customers. They're emotional. I worked hotel breakfast during a waffle machine recall. 23. 24. Fine. They shook hands. His palm was rough, warm, and marked with a thin line of fresh glue. At Ruth's house, Dana and Paige were completing the final cleanout. The furniture that remained had been pulled into the center of each room. Without the piano, the parlor sounded hollow enough to turn every footstep into an accusation. A trash bag waited beside the front door. Ruth's slippers rested on top. Lena picked them up. Dana came from the kitchen carrying a roll of paper towels. Those were under the bed. So you put them in the trash? They're worn through. The pink fabric had thinned at both heels. One sole bore a dark mark from the kitchen vent, where Ruth liked to warm her feet. I'll take them. Why? I don't know. Dana opened her mouth, then closed it. Paige entered carrying the 2 remaining nutritional drinks from the refrigerator. Anybody want drywall? No, both sisters said. She put them into a donation box. The landlord was coming at 4 for the keys. Dana had cleaned the oven twice and lined the cabinets with fresh paper, though none was required. Paige had wiped the bathroom mirror, but left streaks shaped like clouds. Lena packed the slippers beside Ruth's metronome and hymnals. You missed the mark on the wall, Dana said when she saw the box. What mark? Behind the piano. Lena returned to the parlor. A small black line remained on the wallpaper at bench height. Ruth had drawn it in pencil years ago to show where the piano should be returned after a flooring repair. Dana handed her a damp sponge. Lena rubbed gently. The mark faded, but did not disappear. Harder, Dana said. It'll tear. The landlord will charge us. Then let him charge us. Dana crouched beside her and took the sponge. She rubbed once, stopped, and looked at the darker rectangle where the piano had stood. Leave it, she said. Lena sat back on her heels. Dana lowered herself to the floor beside her, still holding the sponge. For several seconds they listened to Paige open and close cabinets in the kitchen. Grandma called me the night before she went to the hospital, Dana said. I saw it come in. I was at dinner with clients, so I let it go. Lena remembered Ruth asking whether Dana had called. She had said no because she thought it would make Ruth rest. She didn't leave a message, Dana continued. She always left messages. She was tired, I know. Dana pressed the sponge between her hands until water ran over her fingers. I keep thinking if she'd left one, I'd know what she wanted. Lena could have said Ruth wanted the piano repaired. Ruth wanted Lena to play. Ruth probably wanted Dana to answer. None of those answered the question beneath Dana's sentence. She wanted you to come when you could, Lena said. Dana looked at her. Did she say that? No. Then don't make her nicer for me. She stood, carried the sponge to the kitchen, and began scrubbing the sink. At Willow Glen on Monday, Adrian removed the piano's action and set it across 2 padded tables. Mr. Ford watched from the doorway until Marisol assigned him another federal mission. Adrian replaced a broken center pin, eased several swollen parts, and fitted new felt where the old material had hardened. Lena held a work light when permitted and kept her questions to 1 every 5 minutes. Near evening, he returned the action to the case. Try middle C, he said. Lena pressed the key. It sank. For an instant, nothing happened. Then a thin, wavering note sounded in the room. It was ugly. Lena laughed anyway. Adrian did not laugh. He pressed the key himself, listened to the note decay, then leaned inside the case and adjusted something Lena could not see. Again. She pressed it. The note sounded sooner and slightly stronger. It's still ugly, she said. It's one note at the wrong pitch produced by old felt striking an old string in a damaged box. So you agree? I'm saying ugly is a broad diagnosis. He moved 2 keys to the left, testing the action. The first worked. The second knocked without sounding. Lena pressed middle C once more. Don't get attached, Adrian said. Too late. That is how pianos bankrupt people. The stabilization work happened in pieces because Lena could not pay for it any other way. Adrian agreed to divide the estimate into stages, though he made her sign beneath a paragraph, stating that partial repairs did not guarantee completion. She worked Saturdays at the shop and added a 3-hour block on Tuesday afternoons between the hotel and Willow Glen. At $24 an hour in credit, progress came in insulting little increments. She cleaned the office, called clients about overdue invoices, entered handwritten work orders into a spreadsheet, and learned that piano owners use the phrase, one little problem, the way hotel guests use quick question. One little problem could mean a squeaky pedal or an instrument that had fallen off a moving truck. Adrian answered technical questions with exactness and personal questions as if they were badly tuned. How long did you work with your father? Lena asked while matching receipts to invoices. Since I could push a broom. Professionally. He started paying me at 15. What happened before that? He called it character building. Was he right? No. A framed photograph stood on a shelf behind a row of tuning manuals. Adrian's father had the same narrow face but a broader smile. He stood beside a glossy black grand piano with one hand on its rim, looking as proud as if he had built the entire concept of music. Did he know Grandma? Lena asked. He serviced her piano at least 3 times. That isn't what I asked. It's all I know. Adrian was replacing leather on an action from a church upright. He held a strip to the light, trimmed it, and pressed it into place. My father remembered instruments better than people, he said. He'd say Mrs. Allen on Oak Street and mean nothing to me. Then he'd say the Baldwin with the loose bridge pin, and I knew exactly which one. That's terrible. He was good at his job. Those statements can coexist. Adrian glanced toward the photograph. Yes, he said, they can. The work at Willow Glen was less orderly. Evelyn decided the music gatherings needed printed lyrics and began bringing photocopies marked with breath symbols Lena had not requested. Mr. Ford added a woodblock to his percussion collection. The quiet woman who had requested Moon River introduced herself as Celia Moreno and proved to know the words to nearly every popular song written before 1975, provided nobody asked her to begin alone. By the third gathering, 15 chairs were no longer enough. Marisol brought 5 more from the dining room and put them in the back. This is a fire code problem disguised as success, she told Lena. I thought you'd be happy. I am happy. I'm also required to maintain aisles. The broken upright still stood silent during the gatherings, its front panel removed and a strip of white cloth covering the exposed action. Adrian had forbidden anyone to play it while he corrected the pitch in stages. Mr. Ford ignored this twice. Marisol made a sign, "Do not touch piano." Evelyn added, "This means you, Leonard." It creates a hostile environment, Mr. Ford complained. It creates clarity, Evelyn said. Lena continued using the donated keyboard. She stopped apologizing before songs she did not know well. When she lost a chord, Evelyn carried the melody until she found it. When Evelyn chose a key too high for half the room, Lena lowered it without asking, and Evelyn gave her an offended look before singing comfortably. The first time Paige came, she stood outside the doorway for 10 minutes. Lena saw her reflection in the old salon mirror but did not wave. Paige wore a cream blouse, dark trousers, and Ruth's gold chain. She joined only when Marisol carried in another chair and told her observers counted against room capacity. Afterward, Paige helped stack lyric sheets. You made that keyboard sound almost expensive, she said. It sounds like a microwave with ambitions. The people liked it. They liked Mr. Ford's tambourine, not Evelyn. No, Evelyn would have it tried at The Hague. Paige smiled, then looked toward Ruth's piano. How much have you spent? Why? I'm asking. $640 for the move, $325 on parts in the first labor stage, plus the credit from Grandma's deposit in my shop hours. Are you eating? Frequently. Food? Usually. Paige aligned the lyric sheets by tapping them against the counter. I could help. With money? Her hands stopped. Lena regretted asking, not because it was unfair, but because she already knew the answer. Paige resumed straightening the pages. I paid off the joint credit card. The one from the divorce? And the attorney balance. I have enough left to get out of my lease and put down a deposit somewhere that doesn't share a wall with a man who practices trumpet at midnight. You always like music. I like songs that end. Paige placed the pages in their folder. I could come to the shop, she said, if there's cleaning or whatever. You don't clean your own oven. That's because I respect my limitations. Adrian pays in repair credit. Then I could earn some. Lena leaned against the keyboard. Why? Paige's gaze moved to Ruth's photograph. Because I can't give you half. There was no performance in the answer, no attempt to make it prettier. But I can give you a Saturday, she said. Adrian objected when Lena brought Paige to the shop. I agreed to your labor, he said. She's from the same defective batch. Paige offered him a coffee. I have office management experience. You manage an office? No, but I've been managed in several. He took the coffee, which ended the argument. Paige hated dust, but loved telephone calls. She collected 2 overdue balances before lunch by sounding warmly concerned about whether the invoices had reached the correct email addresses. One customer paid while still apologizing. Adrian watched her hang up. What did you say? Nothing threatening? You called him sir 4 times. Some men hear that as praise. By the end of the day, Paige had earned $96 in credit. Adrian wrote it beneath Lena's hours on the estimate. Lena looked at the figure. That's hers. Paige was washing dust from her hands in the back sink. Put it on the piano. You could take it. And do what with $96? Move to the apartment next to the midnight trumpet. Adrian capped his pen. I need both of you to decide before I adjust the account. Credit it, Paige said. Lena did not thank her. Paige did not ask. On the following Monday, Adrian began the first pitch correction. Lena sat nearby, entering inventory into his laptop while he worked. Every few minutes came the single bright strike of a note, followed by a small metallic movement. The piano had settled nearly a full step below standard pitch. Bringing it back too quickly could break strings or destabilize the tuning pins, so Adrian raised it cautiously, listening for changes in tension. Lena tried not to watch. A sharp crack split the room. She stood so fast the folding chair tipped backward. What happened? String broke. You said slowly. I also said strings might break. Which one? Adrian pointed to the bass section. One copper wound string hung slack among the others. How much? You ask that faster now. How much? He named a figure that erased nearly 2 of her Saturdays. Lena set the chair upright. Can it play without it? Yes. Then leave it. The neighboring note will sound unbalanced. Will a reasonable person call it music? Adrian looked toward Marisol's 30-day agreement taped to the counter. A generous, reasonable person. I have several of those and Evelyn. He resumed tuning. That evening, Lena covered the Willow Glen desk for a co-worker, then reported to the hotel at 5 the next morning. At 9, the breakfast supervisor found her leaning against the supply room wall with her eyes closed. You asleep? No. You answer questions while unconscious? It's a developing skill. Her supervisor, Denise, was a broad-shouldered woman who wore purple eyeshadow before sunrise and believed every personal crisis could be improved by labeling a container. She handed Lena a sleeve of coffee cups. You've been late twice this month. 4 minutes. Late comes in minutes. I know. Do you? The question sounded too much like Adrian. Denise lowered her voice. I can cover 1 shift if you need rest. I can't cover a pattern. Lena took the cups. There won't be a pattern. There already was. Hotel, shop, Willow Glen, piano. Each solved one problem by consuming the time needed for another. At the next music gathering, she snapped at Mr. Ford for starting the woodblock during her introduction. The room went quiet. He placed the block in his lap. I was establishing tempo, he said. You were interrupting. His expression changed, not dramatically, but enough. He looked older without the mischief. Lena closed her eyes. I'm sorry, she said. You were interrupting, but I said it like you'd committed a felony. Depends on the tempo. A few people laughed. Mr. Ford waited, then tapped the block once. Commentary, he said. After the session, Evelyn remained behind. You rush when you're tired, she told Lena. I rush all the time. No. When you're scared, you stop. When you're tired, you drag everyone with you. Lena shoved lyric sheets into the folder. Did you teach music or interrogate prisoners? Choir? Same need for discipline, less reliable funding. Evelyn watched her for a moment. Your grandmother teach you? Yes. She rush? Never. Then she probably made some other mistake. Lena looked at her. Evelyn shrugged. People who teach us always do. On the 28th day, Adrian replaced the action and removed the white cloth. He had repaired enough failed parts for every key to move, though not every note spoke cleanly. The broken bass string remained tied back and silent. The case still bore its water stain. Marisol, Calvian, Evelyn, Mr. Ford, and Celia gathered in the activities room for the test. Paige arrived late and stood by the counter. Adrian sat at the bench first. He played scales, chords, and a short progression that sounded more like inspection than music. The piano's voice was uneven, bright in one register, muffled in another, rough around the missing bass note, but it filled the room. Marisol looked at Calvin. Safe? She asked. He checked the floor as if the music might have cracked it. Safe. Functional? Evelyn answered. Move. Lena sat. The bench creaked the way it had in Ruth's parlor. The keys felt heavier than the keyboard, familiar and strange. She began Blue Moon. The piano resisted her. One note rang too loudly. Another arrived late. She adjusted. Evelyn joined, then Celia. Mr. Ford waited until the second verse before adding the tambourine. At the final chord, the damaged upright held its sound longer than Lena expected. Marisol made a note on her clipboard. Trial extended 90 days, she said. Adrian leaned against the wall, arms folded. The pitch held, Lena whispered, for today. She looked at him. He nodded toward the piano. Today counts. The sound had not completely faded when Mr. Ford said, 90 days is enough time for a proper rhythm section. No drums, Marisol said. I didn't say drums, no objects you can strike. He looked down at his tambourine. That seems discriminatory. Evelyn closed the keyboard's dust cover, even though they had not used it. We need regular rehearsals. We have regular gatherings, Lena said. We have people shouting requests while Leonard treats percussion as a form of civil disobedience. That's a gathering. It is not a rehearsal. Rehearsal for what? Evelyn looked at Marisol, and Lena knew instantly that something had already been discussed without her. Marisol turned her clipboard around. A flyer was clipped to it. Willow Glen. Spring open house and supper. Live music, it promised near the bottom. You printed this? Lena asked. Yesterday, before we knew the piano worked. Marisol glanced at Adrian. I was optimistic. You told me never to negotiate from desperation. Optimism is desperation with better posture. The open house was 3 weeks away. Willow Glen had hired the hotel where Lena worked to cater the supper, because Marisol believed restaurants with cloth napkins charged extra for the privilege of losing them. Residents could invite adult family members, friends, and prospective residents. Evelyn had volunteered the music group. We don't have a group, Lena said. Celia raised one hand. I've been attending a group. That's different. How? Lena looked around the room. 6 people had remained after the test, all watching her. Adrian began putting his tools away. You could help, she told him. With your identity crisis, with an expert opinion. He buckled one case. It's a group. Traitor, she said. Paid contractor. You haven't been paid. Then I'm a poorly paid contractor. Evelyn took the flyer from Marisol. Tuesday and Friday rehearsals, 4 o'clock. We'll choose 6 songs. 4, Lena said. 5, 4, and Mr. Ford gets 1 percussion instrument. Mr. Ford considered this. At a time, in total, he sighed. Art suffers under administration. Preparation exposed every weakness the casual gatherings had concealed. Celia sang confidently only if someone stood on her left. 2 men who attended regularly knew different verses to the same songs and accused each other of regional corruption. Mr. Ford could keep excellent time when he stopped trying to impress anyone, which meant he kept excellent time for roughly 30 seconds per rehearsal. Evelyn wanted harmonies. These are not harmonies, she said during the first Tuesday session. These are neighboring arguments. They sound fine, Lena said. They sound friendly. That is not the same. You know most audiences prefer friendly. Most audiences need guidance. Lena began arriving early to warm up. The upright changed from hour to hour. Damp mornings made 3 keys sluggish. The highest notes sounded thin, and the missing bass string left a small hollow in certain chords. She learned to alter her voicings around it. Adrian showed her how to remove the front board safely and identify a hammer that was not returning. "Don't adjust it," he warned. "I wasn't going to." "You're holding a screwdriver." I was prepared. "For the thing I said not to do." She set it down. Adrian worked around rehearsals, often tuning while Evelyn argued with the tenors. He charged for parts and credited Lena's shop hours against labor. The estimate shrank, then grew when he discovered new failures, then shrank again. At the shop, Lena's invoice system recovered enough overdue money for Adrian to replace the catalogs supporting the broken workbench with an actual caster. He rolled it experimentally across the floor. "Try not to look emotional," Lena said. "I'm evaluating stability. You're glowing. I don't glow. You're practically a lamp." He opened a drawer and handed her a narrow strip of red felt. "What's this?" "Front rail punchings. Sort by thickness." "You're letting me touch piano materials?" "They're felt washers." "Still, we should mark the day. Alphabetize them if it helps. They don't have letters. Then this may be beyond you." He taught her to measure the punchings with a small gauge. She sorted them into shallow bins while he regulated the action from Ruth's piano, which he had transported to the shop for 2 days of bench work. Removed from the case, the mechanism made visible sense, each key beginning a chain of motion, each tiny part relying on the next. "Most people think pressing a key makes a hammer hit a string," Adrian said. "That's not quite right. What's right? The hammer has to escape before impact. If it stayed connected to the key, it would block the string instead of letting it vibrate. So, the important part is letting go." He looked at her. "That sounded more profound in your head," he said. "It sounded less annoying before you answered." On the underside of the action, Ruth's pencil markings appeared beside several repaired notes, tiny dates, initials. Once the word "again" in block letters. "Did she do that?" Lena asked. "Probably." "My father used blue grease pencil." Lena traced the air above the word without touching it. Ruth had written again on sheet music, grocery lists, crossword puzzles, and the envelopes holding bills she had already paid. Again had been encouragement, criticism, and occasionally a threat. Adrian returned to fitting a center pin. "She asked me not to refinish the case," he said. "When?" "On the 3rd call." "You remember which call?" "She said it twice." "Why didn't you tell me?" "You didn't ask about the finish." Lena put down the felt gauge. What exactly did she say? That the stain could stay. She wasn't paying to make it look young. That sounded so much like Ruth that Lena smiled before the ache arrived. What else? Adrian kept his eyes on the action. She wanted it stable. She wanted the keys even. She said not to replace things just because they were old. "That's all?" She asked whether I offered payment plans. Lena looked at the neat row of hammers between them. "Did you?" "I told her we could discuss stages after inspection." "Which you missed." "Yes." He did not defend himself. Lena had wanted him to when he first admitted it. Now she was glad he didn't. On the next Friday, Evelyn went through the music Lena had brought from Ruth's bench and rejected half of it as unsuitable for the open house. "You don't reject this little light of mine," Lena said. "I reject this arrangement. It has 6 verses and no mercy." A brittle program slipped from between the pages and floated to the floor. Celia picked it up. Riverbend Players. The paper advertised a community production of Guys and Dolls from 1987. Ruth's name appeared near the bottom under musical accompaniment. "There are more," Lena said. They found programs folded into scores, ticket stubs marking pages, and handwritten set lists from places Lena knew only as vacant lots or renovated buildings. The old Textile Union Hall, St. Bartholomew's basement, the Piedmont Supper Club. Ruth had not saved them ceremonially. She had used them as bookmarks and places to calculate tempos. Evelyn held up a program from a community choir concert. "I sang in this." Lena stared at her. "You knew Grandma?" "I knew there was a pianist named Ruth who could transpose at sight and wouldn't wait for a choir that dragged. That was her. I didn't know her last name." Evelyn studied the photograph on the program. Ruth sat at a grand piano with her face turned away from the camera. She filled in when our regular accompanist had surgery. "Called us a herd of mournful cattle." Celia laughed. "You liked her. I respected accuracy." The discovery did not transform the piano's price. It did not make the programs valuable. But the room began to feel connected to a larger room Lena had entered late. Ruth had played for people who were not family, people who remembered tempo instructions and insults decades later. Evelyn returned the program to the score. She stopped coming around, she said. Her hands got worse. That happens. She didn't want anyone to hear. Evelyn glanced at Lena. That also happens. On the night before the open house, Dana called during rehearsal. Lena let it go to voicemail. Dana called again. What? Lena whispered, stepping into the hall. The estate account is ready to close. I need you to approve the final expense summary. Can I do it tomorrow? You've had it since Monday. I work. So do I. Singing leaked through the activities room door. Mr. Ford entered early with the tambourine, and Evelyn stopped the song to issue a correction. Dana heard it. What is that? Rehearsal? For the piano thing? Yes. Paige had apparently told her about the music sessions, but not the open house. Lena could hear Dana fitting this new fact into whatever version of her she kept. You're busy, Dana said. It should not have sounded accusatory, but it did. I've been busy for years. That isn't what I meant. It's due tomorrow? The approval, yes. I'll read it tonight. Dana paused. Paige said, you're doing well. Did she? She said, the residents like you. Some of them. Another pause. Grandma would have liked that, Dana said. Lena looked through the small window in the door. Evelyn had taken over the rehearsal. She stood at the piano, tapping the beat on its lid while Celia sang. Grandma might have asked why I wasn't playing the right tempo. That too. Neither of them ended the call. Finally, Dana said, send the approval by 10. There she was. Lena smiled despite herself. Good night, Dana. The open house filled the room, the hallway, and part of the lobby. The hotel's catering staff set chafing dishes along one wall, while Marisol protected the carpet with the concentration of a military commander. Wendy Clark, the hotel's banquet manager, arrived in a black suit and recognized Lena immediately. Your breakfast, she said. I have a name. I know you have a name. I'm managing pork tenderloin. Evelyn called for Lena from the piano. Go, Wendy said, before she reports you. They opened with Blue Moon. The group missed an entrance, recovered, and sang the second verse with more heart than pitch. Mr. Ford kept perfect time. Celia stood with Evelyn on her left and never once looked at the floor. By the third song, the doorway was crowded. Lena stopped worrying about the damaged notes. She used the piano she had, leaving space where the bass string was missing and leaning into the register that still rang warmly. The instrument sounded worn, stubborn, and alive. After the final chord, Wendy found her beside the catering table. You play events? She asked. I just did. I mean for money. Lena looked at the piano, then back at the woman who had known her for 11 months as the person refilling oatmeal. What kind of events? Retirement dinner next Thursday. 2 hours, lobby grand. 175 plus a meal. Lena's answer came before fear could organize itself. Yes. Wendy handed her a business card. Good, she said. Wear black. And don't tell Denise I stole breakfast. Denise found out before Lena's breakfast shift ended. She waited until Lena had refilled the oatmeal and replaced the serving spoon, then cornered her beside the industrial toaster. I heard you're moving to banquets. I'm playing one dinner. You're playing piano? That's generally what banquet managers want from pianists. I thought you answered phones at the old folks' place. I contain multitudes. Denise folded her arms. Purple eyeshadow gave her skepticism a festive quality. You never told me you played. You never asked. I asked if you had any useful skills when the waffle machine caught fire, and I used a fire extinguisher. It smoked. It did not catch fire. The distinction feels personal. Denise tried to remain stern, then smiled. Wendy steals people. She once took my best dishwasher and made him a bartender. I'm not leaving breakfast. You're already half asleep in the linen room. Lena's smile faded. Denise lowered her voice. One event doesn't fix a schedule that's too full. It pays 175. So does missing 3 shifts eventually. I won't miss them. Good. Because you still owe me Friday at 5. Denise picked up a stack of clean plates. And charge Wendy for parking, she added. She'll pretend she can't validate. She can. Lena owned one black dress. It had been purchased for Ruth's funeral, and the idea of playing a retirement dinner in it felt like inviting grief to sit at the piano bench. Paige arrived Wednesday evening with garment bags, 2 pairs of shoes, and the conviction that this constituted an emergency. You said wear black, not attend a coronation. You don't know what size lobby this is. I work there. Then why don't you own trousers without a bleach mark? Paige hung 3 outfits from the pipe that served as Lena's closet. Mr. Alvarez had left another baked good outside the door, this time banana bread, with a note reading, "Too sweet," which meant his sister had made it, and he wanted plausible deniability. Paige chose a simple black blouse and wide-legged pants. Lena rejected the heels and kept her own flats. "You look like you're about to explain refinancing," Paige said. Perfect banquet energy. She fastened Ruth's gold chain around Lena's neck before Lena realized what she was doing. "No. Why? It's yours. It's shared for special occasions. You said that because you felt guilty. I still feel guilty. The policy remains." Paige's fingers stayed at the clasp. Lena looked at herself in the mirror. The chain was small and ordinary, a narrow loop of gold Ruth had worn with nearly everything, including gardening clothes and hospital gowns. It did not transform the outfit. It made Lena feel as if she had forgotten to breathe. "Take it off," Paige said quietly. Lena touched the chain. "No, leave it." Paige stepped back. On the bed beside the garment bags sat the latest invoice from Adrian, marked with labor credits in his cramped handwriting. Paige picked it up. "You've gotten it down a lot. It keeps growing." Dana asked if that means the piano is worth more now. Lena turned from the mirror. "Why would she ask you?" She saw the video from the open house. "What video?" "I took 30 seconds. I sent it to her." "Why?" "Because she didn't come. You didn't tell me you were recording. I recorded the group, not a bank robbery." "What did Dana say?" Paige placed the invoice back on the bed. She asked whether Adrian had changed the appraisal. "And?" "I said no." The answer came too quickly. "Paige, I said I didn't know." "You do know. It costs more than it's worth." "I know what he told us when it was broken. It is still broken." "It doesn't sound broken." Lena stared at her. Paige lifted both hands. "I am not claiming your piano. You and Dana took cash because a form said it was yours. Grandma's will says the piano is mine. I know. Then why is its value a family conversation?" "It isn't." Dana asked a question. "And you made a video." Paige's face closed in the familiar way, softness retreating before she could be accused of using it. "I thought you looked happy," she said. I wanted her to see. She took the garment bags from the closet and left the chosen outfit hanging. The banana bread remained on the counter between them. "I'm not hungry," Lena said. "I didn't ask." Paige cut 2 slices anyway. The hotel lobby grand was glossy enough to reflect the chandeliers, and badly enough maintained to make Adrian curse when Lena described it over the phone. "Don't touch anything inside," he said. "I know. You called because one key is sticking. That suggests you were considering touching something. I wanted to know if there's a safe trick. Play the key softly. If it repeats, use it. If not, voice around it. It's A above middle C. Popular note. Thank you. Your background music? Avoid keys that make it important. Can you give me one piece of advice that doesn't sound like an insult?" "Yes." "Keep going." She waited. "That's it?" she asked. "If you stop, everyone knows you made a mistake. If you keep going, half the room assumes jazz." The retirement dinner honored a regional sales director named Frank Delaney. His colleagues filled the ballroom, while drinks and appetizers occupied the lobby. Lena sat at the piano near a display of framed photographs from Frank's career. In every picture, he wore a different suit and the same mustache. Wendy appeared with a radio clipped to her belt, soft for the first hour, more familiar after speeches. No show tunes until the regional vice president leaves. Why? She sings. Is that bad? She commits. Wendy checked the room, adjusted one votive candle, and disappeared. Lena began with standards she could play without thinking. The lobby swallowed the music. People talked over her, laughed, crossed between the bench and the floral arrangement, and placed empty glasses on the piano until a server moved them. She had expected invisibility to feel insulting. Instead, it gave her room. Nobody was waiting for proof that she deserved the bench. Her job was to shape the space around their conversations. The sticking A failed during "The Way You Look Tonight." Lena altered the chord and continued. A man stopped beside the piano during the second hour. He was broad and silver-haired, wearing a badge with Frank's photograph on it. "You know, as time goes by?" "Yes." "My wife used to say every piano player knew it, except the ones she asked." "Your wife sounds efficient." She was terrifying. He stayed while Lena played. Near the end, he wiped beneath one eye with his thumb and pretended to study the photographs. "Thank you," he said. Wendy returned after the speeches carrying a foil-covered plate. "You ate?" "No." "Chicken, potatoes, something green for liability." She set the plate beneath the bench. "You're doing fine." The sentence warmed Lena more than applause would have. At 9, Frank Delaney himself approached and requested Piano Man. Lena asked whether irony was permitted. He said it was mandatory. 3 of his colleagues sang, none in the same key, and the regional vice president returned in time to commit to the final chorus. Wendy handed Lena a check and a parking validation. "Second Thursday next month," she said. "Medical Association dinner. Interested?" "Yes." Different crowd. Same mustache ratio. The money did not solve anything. After taxes, parking, and the shifts she had traded away to prepare, the amount was smaller than it first appeared. Lena put $100 toward her credit card and $75 into an envelope labeled Piano. She bought groceries with her hotel paycheck and did not apologize to the instrument for choosing food first. When Adrian saw the envelope at the shop, he turned it over. "You paid yourself?" "I paid Visa." "Good. You sound surprised." "I'm practicing." Paige did not come that Saturday. She texted that an apartment had opened near her office and she needed to see it. Lena answered good luck, then rewrote the message twice before sending it. Adrian had her call customers until 11, then brought her into the workshop. On the bench lay a detached upright action with a hammer hanging lower than the others. "What's wrong?" he asked. "You tell me. I know. I'm asking you." Lena leaned closer without touching. She followed the line of wood and felt from the hammer down through the mechanism. One small strap had split. That? Bridle strap. "What does it do?" "It pulls the hammer back." "Not exactly." "Try again." She did. He corrected her. Then he showed her how to replace the strap on a discarded practice action, guiding her through loosening the part, fitting the new leather, and checking the movement. Her first attempt was too tight. Her second was crooked. The third worked. Adrian pressed the key lever and watched the mechanism return. "Acceptable," he said. "That's all? Do you want a parade? I want the word good. It's your third bridle strap. Good is not a limited resource." He examined the repair again. "Good?" The praise was so plainly dragged from him that it made her grin. His phone rang in the office. While he answered, Lena tested the mechanism once more. The motion was small, quick, and complete. Adrian returned carrying a work order. "Client canceled tomorrow afternoon," he said. "Restaurant piano. They can do Monday, but I'm booked. I can move the appointment, I know." He placed the order beside her hand. "Come with me. You can assist. For credit? Cash. 18 an hour. My office rate is 24. Your trainee rate is 18. I just did good work. You replaced one strap after 2 bad ones. Good work is good work. 20, 22, 20, and lunch. Not onions." He held out his hand. She shook it. The restaurant occupied the ground floor of an old brick hotel downtown. Its piano sat in a corner near the bar, a compact walnut upright scarred by decades of belt buckles and chair backs. The manager met them with coffee and a complaint about a clicking note. Adrian let Lena remove the front board under supervision. She located a loose object near the action rail, the metal tip from a cocktail pick. The manager stared at it. "How did that get in there?" "Pianos attract people's decisions," Adrian said. Lena extracted it with tweezers. The clicking stopped. The manager pressed the key several times. "That's it?" "That was the noise," Lena said. "It still needs tuning." Adrian handled the tuning while she cleaned the key bed and replaced 2 worn front rail punchings. He checked each step, corrected her grip, and made her redo one because she had chosen the wrong thickness. When the invoice was paid, he counted $40 from the cash drawer in his tool case. Lena looked at the bills. "What?" "Nothing. You've been paid before." "Not for this." He closed the drawer. "You found a cocktail pick." "I found the right cocktail pick." Outside, they ate sandwiches on a bench beneath a tree, dropping white blossoms across the sidewalk. Adrian had mustard on his sleeve again. Lena pointed. He looked at the correct arm this time. "Progress," she said. He wiped it with a napkin, slowly. Her phone vibrated. Dana's name appeared on the screen, followed by a photograph of the piano at Willow Glen taken from Paige's video. The message beneath it read, "We need to talk about this before more money gets put into it." Lena turned the phone face down on her knee. Adrian chewed his sandwich and watched a white blossom land in his open tool case. "That message made a lot of noise," he said. "It's Dana," I gathered. "From what?" "You looked like someone handed you an invoice for breathing." Lena showed him the screen. He read Dana's message without taking the phone. "What does she mean by this?" "She thinks the piano is worth money now." "Why?" "Because it makes sound. So does a refrigerator." She saw the open house video. Paige sent it. Adrian picked the blossom from his case. "Your sister was at the appraisal. She heard what she wanted. Now she sees what she wants." "Which sister?" "Yes." Lena called Dana before resentment could spend the afternoon improving its speech. Dana answered immediately. "Are you free?" "No." "I'm sitting outside a restaurant holding $40. I earned pulling a cocktail pick out of a piano." Adrian looked at her. "That is not the whole service. It's the memorable part." Dana ignored this. "You got my message." "I did. I'm not accusing you of anything." "Great opening." I asked Paige whether the appraiser changed his valuation. She didn't know. She knows exactly what he said. She knows what he said before you put thousands of dollars of work into it. I haven't put thousands into it. Between cash, Ruth's deposit, moving costs, and both your labor, my labor isn't inheritance money. I didn't say it was. You said we need to talk before more money gets put into it. Whose money? Dana's silence answered badly. Paige told you she worked at the shop, Lena said. She said it was one Saturday. It was. And she applied her wages to the piano. $96. That isn't the point. What is the point? That account was supposed to give her a clean start. She's moving next week. She needs deposits, furniture, utility fees. Paige is 40 minutes younger than you, not legally under your protection. 8 years, Lena. What? I'm 8 years older than Paige, 11 older than you. If you're going to dismiss my entire adult life, at least use the correct numbers. Dana's voice had sharpened, but beneath it Lena heard something ragged. I'm not asking to take the piano, Dana continued. I'm asking whether the value has materially changed. If an estate asset appreciated during administration, it was specifically left to me. I know that. I handled the will. Then why are you talking like there's a committee? Adrian folded his sandwich wrapper into smaller and smaller squares. Dana exhaled. Can we discuss it in person? Why? Because every phone call with you becomes evidence in a trial nobody is having. Lena looked at Adrian. He gave no sign of listening, which meant he was listening carefully. He'll be at Willow Glen Tuesday, she said. Ask him yourself. I don't want to corner your appraiser. You hired him, remember? The music room was set for rehearsal when Dana arrived Tuesday. She wore a navy suit and carried a leather folder, though Lena had specifically told her there was nothing to sign. Paige came in behind her, dressed for moving in jeans and an old university sweatshirt. I thought this was a conversation, Lena said. Paige set 2 coffees on the counter. It's an intervention with beverages. Whose? Still unclear. Dana walked around the piano slowly. The case had been cleaned, though the water stain remained. The repaired keys sat more evenly. Ruth's photograph stood on the counter beneath the old salon mirror. It does look better, she said. No one refinished it. I didn't say they had. You sounded suspicious. I said better. Adrian entered carrying the replacement bass string wrapped in brown paper. He stopped when he saw all 3 sisters. I wasn't told there would be a board meeting. There isn't, Lena said. Dana extended her hand. I appreciate you speaking with us. I haven't agreed to. Paige passed him one of the coffees. He accepted it, briefly then. Lena stared at her. Paige shrugged. Some men hear coffee as praise. Adrian placed the wrapped string on a padded table. Dana opened her folder and removed a printed copy of the original appraisal. Has your opinion of fair market value changed? She asked. Yes. The word struck the room cleanly. Lena looked at him. Dana's fingers tightened on the page. By how much? In its current condition, with enough action repairs to function and the initial pitch correction holding, it might sell privately for $800 to $1,500, possibly less, depending on the buyer and moving costs. Dana blinked. That's all? That is more than minimal to negligible. But after full restoration would cost several times any likely resale value. What about its history? Adrian glanced at Lena. Dana continued, the programs. Your father servicing it. Ruth's community work. My father serviced many pianos. Community use gives an instrument meaning, not necessarily a premium. So, there's no collector interest. It is not a collector instrument. Dana shifted the appraisal on the lid. Then the open house, the music program, none of that affects what it's worth. It affects what it is worth to the people using it. I'm asking financially, I know. Adrian's tone remained courteous, which somehow made Dana sound more aggressive by comparison. He set one hand lightly on the case. Lena has paid $640 to move it. Ruth paid $300 toward inspection. Lena has paid for parts and labor in cash and earned additional repair credit through work. Paige earned $96 of credit. At completion of the current stage, the combined cost will exceed the piano's resale value. Dana looked at Paige. You said 96. I told you one Saturday. You didn't tell me the amount. It was 24 an hour. I negotiated. This isn't funny. I'm not laughing. Dana faced Adrian again. If it's losing money, why continue? He looked puzzled by the question. Because the purpose is to have a working piano. That isn't a financial answer. No. You keep asking a financial question about a non-financial decision. Lena should have enjoyed hearing someone say it. Instead, embarrassment crawled up her neck. Her bank balance, labor hours, and grandmother's deposit had been itemized in the room where she was expected to lead singing in 40 minutes. Dana closed the folder. I'm trying to understand. No, Lena said. You're trying to make sure I didn't get more than you. That is not fair. You wanted it to be worthless. I wanted the estate settled. You wanted the piano to be garbage because then the cash felt less ugly. Paige said, Lena? No. She hired an appraiser to prove I inherited a disposal fee. Now it works, so she's checking whether she made a mistake. Dana's face went still. I did not create the beneficiary form, she said. You chose what to do once you saw it. So did Paige. I know. Paige stepped back as if the sentence had physical force. Dana's voice dropped. What exactly do you want from me? A check? An apology? Permission to spend every cent I inherited fixing an instrument you stopped playing years ago? I didn't ask you to fix it. You asked by making refusal the only thing anyone remembers. The room went quiet. Adrian picked up his coffee and moved toward the door. I'll come back after rehearsal. No, Lena said. Stay. This is almost brief. Dana gave a tired laugh with no humor in it. I came because I was worried Paige was giving away money she needs, she said. And yes, I wanted to know if Ruth somehow knew this thing had value the rest of us missed. Because if she did, then maybe the account wasn't an accident. Maybe she meant for things to be unequal. Lena stared at her. There it was beneath the folder and the questions. Dana did not fear that Lena had found a fortune. She feared Ruth had made a judgment. You think Grandma left you the cash because you deserved more? Lena said. I think she had 31 years. Dana, Paige whispered. Dana looked toward Ruth's photograph. You said the same thing to me. I said it because I wanted to hurt you. Well, it worked. Evelyn appeared in the doorway carrying lyric folders. She surveyed the 4 adults and the untouched coffees. Are we rehearsing or dividing Korea? Dana collected the appraisal. We're finished. She passed Paige without touching her. At the door, she paused beside Adrian. For the record, she said, I'm glad it works. Then she left. Paige remained by the counter. I'm moving Saturday, she said to Lena. I could use help. The request was so ordinary that Lena almost missed what it cost. What time? 10. I'm at the shop. Right, I can come after. Paige nodded. After is fine. Evelyn began placing lyric folders on chairs with force. If family combat has concluded, we have a problem with the second verse of Dream a Little Dream. Adrian took the wrapped bass string and went to work. Rehearsal was terrible. Lena entered too fast, missed 2 changes, and corrected Celia so sharply that Celia stopped singing. Mr. Ford played nothing at all. Evelyn allowed the first song to collapse, then closed her folder. Again, she said, We have 4 more songs. We don't have this one yet. We've done it for weeks. No. We've survived it for weeks. Lena put her hands in her lap. Can we please move on? Evelyn stood beside the piano. Your grandmother wrote again on half this music. My grandmother isn't running rehearsal. No, you are, and you're doing it badly. The room held still. Marisol looked up from the doorway, but did not intervene. Evelyn lowered her voice. Whatever walked in with your sisters is sitting on that bench. Make room or send it home. Lena looked at the keys. Her face burned. I'm sorry, she said to Celia. Celia touched the lyric sheet. I came in early. You came in where I brought you. I rushed. Mr. Ford lifted the tambourine. Want tempo? Yes. He counted them in with 4 quiet taps. They began again. After rehearsal, Adrian installed the replacement bass string. It was brighter than its neighbors and would take time to settle. He tuned it low, explaining that new wires stretched unpredictably. Lena held the work light. I'm sorry you got pulled into that, she said. I gave an appraisal. You gave a family deposition. I've had worse. Families, church committees. She watched him adjust the new string. Was Dana wrong? About which part? That I make refusal the thing everyone remembers. Adrian stopped turning the tuning lever. You worked without sleep to keep this piano. You work Saturdays to pay for it. You run rehearsals because the room had conditions. You took a banquet job to afford your life around it. He resumed the adjustment. You don't make it easy to tell the difference between helping you and being recruited. The answer stung because it lacked cruelty. What am I supposed to do? Decide what you can accept without turning it into debt. That sounds like advice. Don't spread it around. Paige's new apartment was on the 3rd floor of a brick building with no elevator. By the time Lena arrived Saturday afternoon, Dana had already assembled the bed frame, labeled the kitchen boxes, and left. She had a contractor meeting, Paige said. How's the kitchen? Currently a hole with plumbing. The inheritance had become stacked boxes, a security deposit, and enough cleared debt for Paige to breathe when she checked her banking app. Lena wanted to resent every square foot. Instead, she carried dishes upstairs. They ate pizza on the floor beside the unopened boxes. I'm sorry about the video, Paige said. I know. I wanted Dana to see you happy. I know that too. Paige folded her paper plate in half. I'm not giving more money to the piano. I didn't ask. I might give another Saturday. Lena smiled. Adrian's office is dirty again. Then his grief has a strong recovery rate. The remark should have been too sharp. Instead, Lena laughed. Her phone vibrated. A message from Marisol contained a photograph of the music room schedule for the next month. Someone had written "Evening Sing-Along" in an open Thursday slot. Below it, Marisol had typed, "Residents requested weekly. I can pay you for 2 staff hours if you're willing to lead it." The amount was modest. It was also the first time Willow Glen had offered money for work Lena had created herself. Paige read the message over her shoulder, "Say yes." Lena thought of Denise's warning, the hotel banquet, Adrian's shop, and the schedule already tightening around her. Then she thought of what he had said about accepting help without turning it into debt. She typed, "Yes, if we move one of my desk shifts instead of adding hours." Marisol replied almost immediately, "That is a reasonable answer. I'm documenting the occasion." The Thursday sing-along paid less than the hotel banquet and demanded more preparation. Marisol added the 2 staff hours to Lena's schedule by removing one of her evening desk shifts, exactly as promised. The change meant Lena spent fewer hours answering calls about missing laundry and more hours making lyric sheets, moving chairs, and mediating disputes about whether Sweet Caroline required audience participation. "It requires restraint," Evelyn said. "It requires the hand thing," Mr. Ford argued. "It requires a song worth interrupting." Celia placed 2 fingers in her ears and sang the offending response anyway. The room filled every week. Some people came to sing. Others came because the coffee was better than the lobby coffee, or because the group produced arguments they could enjoy without being responsible for them. Marisol counted all of them. Lena's first Willow Glen music paycheck covered groceries and the minimum payment on her phone. She put none of it into the piano envelope. Adrian noticed. "You didn't bring a payment," he said, "that Saturday. You sound disappointed. I'm observing. I bought food again. Reckless pattern. Keep it up." The new bass string had begun settling into its neighbors. Its tone remained brighter, but the hollow in Ruth's familiar chords was gone. Adrian performed another tuning, regulated the repaired section of the action, and declared the stabilization stage complete. He handed Lena the final invoice at Willow Glen after a Thursday session. At the bottom, beneath Ruth's deposit, cash payments, and labor credits, the balance read 0. Lena studied it. "That can't be right." "It is. You added the bass string. You paid for the string. What about today? Follow-up tuning was included. You always find another charge. Thank you. She looked past him at the piano. The water stain remained. Several key tops were discolored. The upper register was thin, and the action still felt uneven if she played softly enough to notice. So, what's next? Routine tuning in 6 months. Earlier if the pitch wanders. I mean the restoration. This was the restoration you could afford. That's not what you called it. I called it stabilization. Exactly. Adrian placed his tuning lever into its case. It works. It holds pitch. The active moisture damage is addressed. The worst action failures are repaired. You said 6 to 9,000. I said that was the likely cost to go farther. We're stopping? You can spend another 5,000 if it would make you happy. It wouldn't. Then we found savings. Lena pressed a key whose top had a hairline crack. This still needs replacing. It functions. It catches my finger. Lightly sand the edge next service. And the hammers don't sound even. No, they're old. So we're leaving it half done. Adrian shut his case. You inherited a piano, not an obligation to make it flawless. The sentence irritated her immediately. You don't get to decide what I owe it. No, but you asked what comes next. I asked what work comes next. Maybe none. She stared at him. You make everything sound like a diagnosis. You make every diagnosis sound like an attack. Evelyn, gathering lyric folders nearby, said, He's right. You were not included. I heard my name in spirit. Mr. Ford raised his tambourine. I think the piano needs drums. No one asked you either. That has never limited him, Evelyn said. Adrian picked up his cases. At the door, he stopped. The shop is caught up on receivables, he said. Mostly. Congratulations. I need someone 12 hours a week. Office work, cleaning, and supervised service assistants. Cash pay. Lena's hand remained on the cracked key. What rate? 22. My office rate was 24. Your trainee rate was 20. I perform both functions. 23, 24. You negotiate like your sister. That's the worst thing you've ever said. 24 then. She smiled. I'll think about it. His expression sharpened with something close to surprise. You've asked me for work for 2 months, and now I have to decide if the schedule works. Adrian nodded once. That is a reasonable answer. Marisol already documented one this month. Don't exhaust yourself. The 90-day trial ended with no ceremony. Marisol entered the music room during a Tuesday rehearsal, attached a green inventory label to the piano's back, and wrote permanent program equipment on her clipboard. Permanent? Lena asked. Until someone changes their mind or the building falls down. That's your definition? It's the definition adults use. The piano could remain as long as the music program continued, and Lena accepted responsibility for coordinating maintenance. Willow Glen would not pay for a complete restoration, but Marisol approved an annual tuning allowance and added a small budget for sheet music and supplies. Lena accepted Adrian's job the next morning. She reduced her hotel breakfast schedule to 3 shifts a week. Denise protested for 6 minutes, then changed the schedule and gave Lena 2 labeled containers for packing lunches. Don't become one of those artistic people who forgets protein, she said. Are there artistic people at this hotel? The bartender. Wendy stole paints boats. Pictures of boats? Actual boats. Badly. Working at the shop for cash felt different from working down an impossible invoice. Adrian still assigned her the tasks he disliked, but he began explaining why repairs were performed in a certain order. She accompanied him on service calls, learned to identify common action noises, and practiced basic regulation on discarded mechanisms. When she made mistakes, Adrian corrected them without softness. When she did good work, he stopped forcing the praise through his teeth. Good, he said one afternoon, after she resolved a sticking key under his supervision. Lena looked up. Just like that? You wanted a parade last time. I want consistency. Good work gets good. That almost sounded like a slogan. Don't put it on the window. The open house programs remained at Willow Glen in a folder marked Ruth Mercer Music. Evelyn had labeled it without permission. She used Ruth's set lists to propose a late summer evening, honoring the community musicians who had played in the old Union Hall and neighborhood theaters. Lena resisted. I don't want to turn Grandma into a theme night. We're not turning her into anything, Evelyn said. She's dead, very resistant to revision. Celia winced. You could say that less directly. I could. It would remain true. Paige supported the idea. She had begun attending one Thursday a month, usually after work, and occasionally sang harmony beside Celia. "It could be the memorial we didn't manage at the funeral," she said. "We had a memorial. We had 20 minutes at the graveside while Dana fought with the florist on speakerphone. The flowers were wrong." "You sound like her." Lena glanced toward Evelyn, who was arranging chairs while transparently listening. "What would this evening involve?" "Music Grandma played," Paige said. "A few stories. Food." "Whose stories?" "People here remembered her. Evelyn remembers being insulted once." "I remember excellent tempo," Evelyn called. Paige touched the folder. "I remember more than that." Lena looked at her. Paige smiled faintly. "Not all of it makes you the favorite." Dana did not answer the first two messages about the memorial. On the third, she replied, "Need date and time before committing." Paige showed Lena. "That means yes," she said. "That means she wants an Outlook invitation." Same thing to Dana. The proposed date was 6 weeks away. Marisol approved the dining room and music room, provided no one described the event as open to the general public. Evelyn began planning 7 songs before Lena could reduce the number to 5. Dana called the following Monday at 7:40 in the morning. Lena was standing in the hotel kitchen eating a hard-boiled egg over the trash can because Denise's protein campaign had become oppressive. "I need a favor," Dana said. "Good morning." "Good morning. I need a favor. What happened?" "The pianist for our client dinner canceled." Dana's real estate firm hosted an annual dinner for property owners, contractors, and commercial clients. Lena knew about it because Dana had mentioned the event every spring for a decade, usually while explaining why she could not attend something else. "When?" "Friday. This Friday?" "I know it's short notice." "Where?" "The Hawthorne Room, the hotel's largest private ballroom." Lena swallowed the egg too quickly. "Wendy's event?" "Wendy Clark is the banquet manager, yes." Lena leaned against the prep table. "Does Wendy know you're calling me?" "She gave me your number. You have my number. She recommended you." That changed the shape of the call. "What hours?" 6:30 to 9. Background music during cocktails and dinner. "We have speeches at 8:15, so you'd stop then." "Do you need a sound check?" "For piano?" "For the room, placement, and instrument. The hotel handles that." "I need access at 5:30. Dana sighed. "Fine. My rate for short-notice corporate work is $275. Silence. Lena had arrived at the number after asking Wendy what other pianists charged. It was not inflated. Saying it to Dana still felt like setting a small fire. "I thought you said the retirement dinner paid $175. That was my first booking. It was 2 hours and not short notice. This is a family favor." "No. It's your company's client dinner. We have a budget, then you can hire within it. The other pianist charged $200. The other pianist canceled." Dana went quiet again. Lena forced herself not to fill the silence. $250, Dana said. $275. Lena, Dana. "You know Grandma would have helped me. Grandma would have asked you to share the cash." The words came out level, not loud, not even angry. Dana drew in a breath. "That's vindictive. It's true. It has nothing to do with this dinner. Then don't bring Grandma into this dinner." The kitchen's ventilation hood hummed above Lena. Across the room, Denise labeled a container of sliced melon and pretended not to listen. "I'll send a standard agreement," Lena said. "It requires a 50% deposit." "You require a deposit from your sister?" "I require one from the client." "Is the client you?" Dana did not answer immediately. "No," she said. "It's the firm." "Then put the firm's billing contact on the agreement." "You're really going to do this? I'm really willing to work Friday. That isn't what I meant. I know." An hour later, Lena sent the contract Wendy had helped her adapt. Dana returned it, signed by the office manager. The deposit arrived before noon. Paige called during Lena's lunch break. "Dana says you invoiced her. I invoiced the firm. She says you charge extra for being related. I charge extra for 4 days' notice." Paige laughed so hard she had to move the phone away. "It isn't funny, it is from here." She called me vindictive. Was that before or after she signed? Before. "Then your vindictiveness has excellent payment terms." Friday evening, Lena entered the Hawthorne Room through the service corridor, wearing the black outfit Paige had chosen. Ruth's gold chain rested at her throat again, this time because Lena had asked to borrow it. The grand piano waited near the windows, polished and tuned. Wendy checked her watch. "You're early. I required access at 5:30. Dana told 3 people. Across the ballroom, Dana stood beside a table of name badges in a dark green dress. directing staff with one hand and holding her phone in the other. She looked up when Lena tested the first chord. For a moment, neither sister moved. Then Dana crossed the room. The piano? Okay, she asked. It's good. Do you need anything? Water. Dana nodded as if receiving instructions during surgery. With lemon? Plain. She returned 5 minutes later, carrying a glass herself. She set it on a side table, well away from the piano. At 6:30, the ballroom doors opened. Lena placed her hands on the keys. Dana's clients entered talking, laughing, expecting the room to be ready for them. It was. Lena began with, "Someone to watch over me," quiet enough to sit beneath the first wave of greetings. She watched the room without staring at anyone. Couples paused beside the bar. Contractors found property owners. Dana moved among them with a smile that looked effortless, only if a person had not seen her practice expressions in the bathroom mirror before Ruth's funeral. The work was different from Willow Glen. Nobody sang unless invited, and nobody threatened the tempo with a tambourine. Lena shaped endings around announcements, changed songs when conversations grew louder, and left enough silence before dinner for Dana to direct people toward their tables. At 7:15, one of Dana's colleagues brought a man to the piano. "This is Martin Wills," she said. "He claims to know every Cole Porter song." Martin, who wore red-framed glasses and a bow tie patterned with tiny houses, corrected her. "I claim to know every good Cole Porter song." "Dangerous distinction," Lena said. He requested night and day, then stood beside the piano through the first chorus, nodding critically. When she finished, he placed a business card near the music rack. "My retirement dinner is in October. Congratulations. I haven't retired yet. Then good luck." Martin laughed and returned to the bar. Lena moved the card away from the keys and continued. Dana crossed the room during dinner. What did he want? Cole Porter. After that, a pianist for October. Dana glanced toward Martin, then back at Lena. "He's one of our biggest commercial clients. He has strong opinions about key changes. He has strong opinions about parking lot striping. That's less charming." Dana almost smiled. At 8:15, she tapped the microphone and welcomed everyone. Lena closed her final song on time, hands resting in her lap as the room turned toward her sister. Dana spoke well. She thanked sponsors without sounding purchased, made a joke about interest rates that produced genuine laughter, and introduced the firm's managing partner with warmth Lena had not realized she possessed. This was the Dana other people knew, alert, controlled, remembering names and details, because she believed preparedness was a form of respect. Lena had spent years treating that competence as the opposite of care. Watching from the piano, she saw how often Dana used it as care when no one was making her defend it. After the speeches, Wendy appeared with another foil-covered plate. "You're going to start expecting meals," she said. "I already do. Dangerous." The plate contained salmon, rice, and asparagus bent into decorative submission. Lena ate in the service corridor, while the catering staff cleared coffee cups. Dana found her there after the last guests left. "You disappeared. I'm eating, in the hallway." It's where the chair was. Dana leaned against the wall. Her heels had begun hurting. Lena could tell from the way she shifted her weight. "You were good," she said. Lena put down her fork. A reflexive joke came to mind, then a deflection. She let both pass. "I know?" Dana's eyebrows rose. "Adrian says praise isn't a limited resource," Lena explained. "Who's Adrian? The piano technician. The unpleasant one? He'd be offended by how little that narrows it down." Dana took an envelope from her purse and handed it over. Inside was the remaining balance from the contract, paid by company check. "The office manager said we normally mail those. I appreciate the speed." I told her the performer required clear terms. Lena looked at her. "That was a joke," Dana said. "I know. It was almost good." Dana glanced toward the ballroom doors. "The memorial is still August 12th, 7 o'clock. I put it on the calendar. Shared? No. They stood in the service corridor with carts rolling past at the far end. "I'm paying for the food," Dana said. "We didn't ask." "I know. Paige said you were planning sheet cake and coffee. Evelyn requested lemon bars. I can arrange dinner. It doesn't need to be a client event. I know the difference." "Do you?" Dana's face tightened, then eased. "Yes," she said. "I do." Lena folded the envelope and placed it in her bag. "No cloth napkins. I wasn't going to. No catered salmon. No centerpieces. Sandwiches, salad, lemon bars." You have very specific ideas for someone who wasn't handling food. Clear terms. Dana looked down the corridor so Lena would not see her smile fully. Fine, she said. I'll send a menu. At Willow Glen, the memorial plans expanded despite Lena's attempts to keep them small. Evelyn contacted 2 former members of the Riverbend Players. Celia found a retired pastor who remembered Ruth accompanying Christmas services after the church organ failed. Mr. Ford volunteered to speak about Ruth, even though he had never met her. You represent her influence on people she didn't know, he argued. You represent the danger of open microphones, Evelyn said. Marisol limited remarks to 3 minutes each and placed the microphone switch under her personal control. Paige brought boxes of photographs from Dana's cedar chest. The 3 sisters sorted them at a card table after rehearsal. Ruth appeared at every age, standing beside a used station wagon, leaning over a birthday cake, seated at the piano with her hair pinned high. In one photograph, young Dana stood behind the bench, making a face while Ruth played. Paige was on the floor beside them, both hands over her ears. You hated lessons, Lena said. I hated practicing. You hated being told to practice. I have always valued autonomy. Dana slid the photograph into a pile marked display. You cried until Grandma let you quit. You informed her that quitting would destroy my character. You quoted that for years. It was formative. Lena found a photograph of herself in a formal dress beside Ruth. She was 17, holding a recital program and smiling too widely. Ruth's hand rested at the center of her back. Dana reached for it, then stopped. Keep that one, she said. For the display? For you. Lena turned it over. Ruth had written the date and the name of the piece Lena played. Nothing else? Paige looked at the picture. Was that the state audition? The year before. You were good. I was terrified. We couldn't tell. Grandma could. Dana aligned the display photographs. She told everybody you'd go to New York. I never wanted New York. She wanted to say something people understood. What does that mean? Saying my granddaughter can hear when a room needs music sounds strange at the grocery store. Lena stared at her. She said that to you? All the time. It was the phrase Adrian had nearly repeated from Ruth's service request. Lena had assumed it belonged to a private version of her grandmother, one Ruth created for a stranger, because hope sounded better on the phone. Dana kept sorting. She talked about you, Lena said. Of course she did. No. Near the end? Dana's hands slowed. She talked about all of us, Paige said. What did she say about Dana? That her kitchen would never be finished. Dana gave her a look. Paige smiled. She said you fixed things before people knew they were broken. Dana looked down at the photographs. What did she say about you? Lena asked. Paige picked up an image of Ruth wearing sunglasses much too large for her face. That I could make anybody feel comfortable except myself. No one spoke for a while. They chose 12 photographs, 3 programs, and one of Ruth's handwritten set lists for the display. Lena refused to include the original investment form, though Paige had not suggested it. When Dana carried the unused boxes to her car, Paige stayed behind. I want to say something at the memorial, she said. About Grandma? About the money. Lena put the recital photograph into her bag. No, you don't know what I'm going to say. You're going to apologize in a room full of people who came to remember her, and then everyone will look at me to absolve you. I don't need you to absolve me. Then say it here. Paige gripped the back of a chair. I knew it wasn't fair. I took it anyway. Lena waited. I had reasons, Paige continued. They felt enormous. Debt, the lease, starting over. But I also knew you had no savings because you stayed with Grandma. I knew every week I didn't come here was a week you couldn't do anything else. I let Dana explain the paperwork because I wanted the explanation more than I wanted the truth. Her voice trembled, but she did not cry. You offered me $200, Lena said. I know. For hauling away the only thing she left me, I know. Then you came to the shop and acted like $96 made us even. I know. The repeated answer left Lena nowhere to place the next blow. Paige sat. I'm sorry, she said. I don't expect you to make it smaller because I finally said it correctly. Lena looked through the activities room window. Mr. Ford was in the hallway, pretending not to wait for the vending machine to return money it had never taken. I don't want that speech at the memorial, she said. Okay. I don't want Grandma's night to become about which of us failed her most. Okay. And I'm still angry. You should be. That answer is irritating. I know. Lena sat across from her. After a moment, Paige pushed one of Dana's leftover coffees toward her. It was cold. Lena drank it anyway. Adrian tuned Ruth's piano 2 days before the memorial. The new bass string had settled, though one neighboring note had drifted. Lena stood beside him, checking the event list. 38 confirmed, she said. Sounds crowded. Marisol found more chairs. Evelyn, 5 songs, 1 unauthorized reprise. Mr. Ford, tambourine, no speech. Dana, food. Paige, Lena looked at him. Why do you know the entire cast now? They call the shop when you don't answer. He played a chord and listened. Paige apologized, Lena said. How inconsiderate. What? You were managing your anger. Now you have to decide what to do with an apology. I told her I'm still angry. Good. Is that all? You want a parade? She smiled despite herself. Adrian closed the piano and wiped a faint line of dust from the lid. You coming? She asked. To the memorial? Yes. I didn't know your grandmother. She called you 4 times. That may be the closest thing we had to a relationship. Then come for the piano. He looked at her. I can do that, he said. On the evening of the memorial, sandwiches arrived on plain trays. Dana had obeyed every term except quantity. There was enough food for 60. Paige wore Ruth's pearls. Lena wore the gold chain. The chairs filled. Old theater members studied the programs. Willow Glen residents argued about whether the lemon bars should be eaten before the music. At 6:58, Dana's chair in the front row was empty. Paige checked her phone. She said she was parking. Evelyn stood beside the piano with her folder open. Marisol dimmed the lights. Lena sat on Ruth's bench and looked toward the doorway. Dana appeared at the back of the room, breathless, carrying the framed photograph Ruth had kept on top of the piano. She lifted it slightly, asking without words where it belonged. Lena pointed to the piano. Dana walked down the aisle and placed Ruth's laughing face above the keys. Dana stepped away from the piano and took the empty chair beside Paige. Lena looked at Ruth's photograph. The laughter caught. There had nothing to do with death, inheritances, or anyone's attempt to make the evening meaningful. Ruth had simply been amused, and someone had pressed the shutter in time. Evelyn cleared her throat. That is not the first note, she said. The room laughed softly. Lena placed her hands on the keys. She opened with the arrangement of This Little Light of Mine that Evelyn had rescued from Ruth's 6-verse sheet music. Celia took the first line alone, her voice trembling until Evelyn joined on her left. By the chorus, the Willow Glen group had filled in behind them. Mr. Ford entered with the tambourine exactly where they had rehearsed. He looked so shocked by his own restraint that Lena nearly missed a chord. The piano sounded uneven, but not weak. Its new bass string rang brighter than its neighbors. A treble note arrived late. Lena adjusted without turning every flaw into an emergency. After the song, Marisol introduced Arthur Bell, a former Riverbend Players director who had driven 90 miles for the memorial. He approached the microphone wearing a brown jacket with leather patches at the elbows and carrying one of the programs Evelyn had found. Ruth accompanied 3 shows for me, he said. The first time, our regular pianist quit because I asked for an extra rehearsal without offering extra pay. Ruth took the job only after making me call the pianist and apologize. Evelyn nodded approvingly. Arthur continued. Ruth then charged me more than the first pianist had requested. The room laughed. She knew music mattered, and she knew labor mattered. I was slower on the second lesson. Lena glanced toward Adrian. He stood against the back wall beside Calvin, arms folded. When he saw her looking, he raised one eyebrow. The retired pastor remembered Ruth playing through a power outage while the congregation sang by candlelight. A former union representative recalled that she refused to play dances where the organizers did not provide coffee for the musicians. Celia spoke about hearing Ruth once at a holiday service and not learning her name until the programs appeared at Willow Glen. None of them described a saint. They remembered Ruth correcting people, undercharging widows, overcharging men who called her sweetheart, bringing her own extension cord, and leaving early if the coffee was bad. Each story returned her to Lena in pieces too ordinary to have survived inside an obituary. Paige approached the microphone. Lena sat straighter, but Paige did not mention the inheritance. When I was getting divorced, she said, I called Grandma from a gas station because I didn't know where else to go. She asked whether the gas station sold sandwiches. A few people smiled. I thought she hadn't heard me, so I explained again. She said, I know, honey, but you haven't eaten, and sorrow gets bossy on an empty stomach. Paige looked toward Ruth's photograph. She stayed on the phone until I bought a terrible sandwich. Then she let me talk. That was how she loved people, usually in an order they did not appreciate at the time. When Paige sat, Lena touched her shoulder. Nothing more. Paige covered Lena's hand briefly with hers. Dana's name was not on the speaking list. After the fourth song, however, she rose. Marisol looked at the clock, then at Lena. Lena nodded. Dana walked to the microphone without notes. "I'm the granddaughter who makes lists," she said. Several people looked toward the display table, where every photograph and program had a typed label. Ruth said I started organizing her kitchen before I could reach the second shelf. She also said I reorganized it badly, which I consider an unnecessary detail. Dana held one hand around the microphone stand. When she got sick, I made more lists. Doctors, medications, bills, questions. I knew where every form was. I knew which office needed which signature. Her voice tightened, but she did not stop. My youngest sister knew how Grandma liked her oatmeal when swallowing became difficult. She knew which nightgown didn't hurt her shoulder and when to turn off the news because it made the room feel frightening. Lena stared at the keys. "I told myself those were different kinds of help," Dana said. "They were. I also told myself that made them equal." The silence in the room changed. Dana did not look at Lena for rescue. "They weren't," she said. "I should have said that while Ruth was alive." She returned the microphone to its stand and sat down. Evelyn leaned toward Lena. Now, the next note. Lena turned back to the piano. The final planned song was Moon River. Celia began it. Evelyn entered beside her, softer than usual. Paige sang from the front row. Dana did not, but her lips moved on the words. Lena reached the transition where she had stopped in Ruth's parlor, then stumbled through at the first music gathering. Her left hand found the full chord this time, including the replaced bass string. The bright new note rang through the old ones. She kept going. When the song ended, no one moved for a breath. Then Mr. Ford gave the tambourine one quiet shake. "Commentary," he said. The room stood gradually, rather than all at once. People moved toward the food, the photographs, and one another. Arthur Bell inspected the programs. The retired pastor asked Adrian whether the piano was the same instrument Ruth had used. Adrian explained that it was, though most of the value the man remembered had come from the person sitting at it. Evelyn overheard. "Careful," she told him. "You nearly said something sentimental. I was describing function, of course." Marisol cut the lemon bars into smaller pieces after discovering Dana had ordered enough for 65 people. Mr. Ford ate 3 before the adjustment and complained about portion control afterward. Lena stayed near the piano, receiving stories from strangers who had known Ruth differently. One woman remembered a green dress. One man remembered Ruth refusing to transpose a song because the singer had arrived late. None of the memories belonged entirely to Lena, and none diminished what she had known. Dana waited until the room had thinned before approaching. She carried 2 plates wrapped in foil. "You should take sandwiches," she said. "Are there 40? 6. Reasonable. I'm documenting the occasion." Lena accepted the plates and placed them on the counter. Dana looked at the piano. "I didn't know she did all that. Neither did I. I knew she played. I thought it was church and lessons. She had other rooms." Dana nodded. Around them, Paige helped Celia fold chairs. Adrian spoke with Calvan beside the service entrance. Evelyn guarded the remaining lemon bars from Mr. Ford. "I meant what I said," Dana told Lena. "Which part?" "That what you did wasn't equal." Lena waited. Dana's fingers tightened around the strap of her purse. "I treated living with her like it canceled the cost of staying. It didn't." "No, and I wanted the beneficiary form to be her decision, because then taking the money wasn't mine. It was still your decision." "I know." Dana looked at her directly. "I'm sorry." The apology did not return the money or the years. It did not make the old form fair. Lena felt no sudden release, only a small loosening where she had been braced for another explanation. "I'm still angry," she said. "Paige told me. She told you about her apology. She said I should find my own words. That sounds annoyingly healthy. I disliked it." Lena smiled. Dana glanced toward the folding chairs. "Do you need help?" "With what?" "Anything." There were dozens of possible answers, many of them 11 years late. "Carry chairs," Lena said. Dana removed her jacket and carried chairs. Adrian was packing his tool case when Lena found him beside the piano. You brought tools to a memorial? It's an old piano in a crowded room. That isn't an answer. It was also an excuse to stand somewhere nobody expected me to speak. Did it work? Evelyn asked whether my father was difficult. What did you say? Yes. Lena looked toward Ruth's photograph. Would he have remembered this piano? Probably. Maybe not the address. He would have remembered the spliced pedal strap and the player who wore out the center hammers before the outer ones. Is that unusual? It means she played for other people more than she played for herself. Adrian closed the case. My father would have said it was used correctly. Lena touched the piano lid. Thank you for coming. I came for the piano. Liar. He considered denying it, then picked up his case. I came for both. The memorial led to 3 new requests for music gatherings. Marisol rejected 2 that involved transporting the upright and accepted 1 joint rehearsal with a local community choir on the condition that Evelyn not seize permanent command. Evelyn accepted the condition in writing and violated its spirit immediately. The following month, Marisol offered Lena 8 regular hours a week coordinating evening music and community programs. The budget was modest. The responsibilities included chair layouts, attendance reports, supply orders, and mediating disputes over repertoire. So, mostly music, Lena said. Mostly adults, Marisol corrected. Willow Glen signed a basic maintenance agreement with Voss Piano Service for the upright and donated keyboard. Adrian priced it fairly, which Lena verified, then complained was insulting. You work for both sides, he said. I contain multitudes. Between Willow Glen, 12 hours at Adrian's shop, 3 hotel breakfast shifts, and occasional banquet work, Lena's schedule remained crowded, but no longer impossible. She paid her bills without moving due dates. Her credit card balance decreased slowly. She still lived above Mr. Alvarez's garage, and he still left baked goods outside her door with negative reviews attached. Paige came to Thursday Music once a month and never offered repair money again. Dana came twice. The first time, she sat in the back and left before anyone could hand her a lyric sheet. The second time, Evelyn trapped her between Celia and Mr. Ford. Dana sang, badly. No one corrected her until the final verse. After one evening program, Lena stayed behind to close the room. The chairs were stacked. Ruth's photograph had returned to the counter, safer there than on the piano. The walnut case still bore its pale water stain, and the cracked keytop had been sanded smooth rather than replaced. Lena sat on the bench. The room did not need music now. No one was waiting, grieving, singing, or paying her. The silence belonged to her. She opened Ruth's worn hymnal to the grocery receipt marking Moon River, then changed her mind and closed it. Without sheet music, she began from memory. The piano answered in its rough, steady voice. One treble note arrived a fraction late. The new bass string still shone beneath the older copper. Lena reached the place where she used to stop. Her hands moved through it, 3 notes and then the next, until there was no unfinished sentence left in the room.